Alright, hi everyone. We are going to get started very soon with the UK Stimhack League stream. Do let me know on the live stream chat if there's any problems. Hopefully there aren't too many issues, but if there are, please let me know before we get started. So we'll just quickly go through what this is. This is the UK Stimhack League. We are in our third iteration right now, and this is basically an online league on jinteki.net where players play against each other and at their own time. This league lasted for 4 weeks, if I remember correctly, and the top 4 players with at least 12 recorded games advanced to the finals. So today is the day of the finals, and we have our top 4 players trying to compete for honor and glory, I suppose. Our first champion was Jono, I think, and our second champion was Theo. So we are gonna have a different champion this time. It's gonna be interesting to see who it's gonna be. Right. Give me a second. Alright, sorry everyone. Just had to settle a bit of technical issues there, but we are back. Alright, before we get started, a couple of advertisements. The UK Stimhack League is
sorry everyone. Just had to settle a bit of tech.
And I apologize.
Alright, sorry about that again. Yes, the UK Stimhack League is a community-run event, and we have a couple more other community-run events on the horizon for those of you who weren't involved in, or whether you were or not involved in the Stimhack League. First up, we have BABW3, also known as Bring a Brit to Worlds. This one's coming earlier than the other earlier two iterations. It's gonna happen sometime from March to May this year, and the grand prize up for grabs is a funding for Trip to Worlds this year. You want to be the next world champion again from the UK? Come on down. We also have I should say this time there are participation prizes available. It's a custom art ID as usual. This one's smoke, so this is gonna be pretty cool. For more details on where the BABW tournaments will be held, do visit babw.net where there's a list of all the locations around the UK where there are BABWs held, as well as the date and location of the finals. Also, I'm going to be running a Blast from the Past tournament. This is one where you come in with fixed deck lists and you play classic decks from past metas. If you're interested in a slightly different format, be sure to check out Blast from the Past channel on Stimhack Slack. This tournament will be held in 2 days' time, Sunday, 6:30 p.m. same time. Alright, with that out of the way, hopefully the stream is good. Let me do a quick check. Seems like it. YouTube's telling me that my buffering is not very good. Please do let me know if the video is bad. I'll try to fix it. But in the meantime, I'm going to introduce our commentary team, or at least part of them, for today. First up, we have the icon of fashion in the 90s. As always, his name is Jono. Hi, Jono.
What is this 90s fashion icon?
we once one time on Slack we shared our photos from the past, and you had some.
I remember. I remember this event. I'm worried. I'm worried that picture's going to make a resurgence. Should I expect that tonight, Ben?
Nope, you're safe for that for now.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so you do this. I think most of you. I mean, most people should be. What am I saying? Most people should know you as you are the fame of Neil Redding Grid. But you also run a podcast, don't you? That channel.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I obviously I'm the guy behind the YouTube channel Near Running Grid, and I'm half of the guys behind the Dead Channel podcast. Yeah, that's right.
I've been listening to it recently. You have been getting guests on your podcast for some pretty fresh, interesting new content. Is this something you plan to continue doing moving forward?
Yes, yeah. So Chris Dyer's been generous enough to guest a few times now. Hopefully, be able to get him on. Obviously, he's a great source of Netrunner knowledge. I know he's going to feature a bit later in the stream as well. So you're obviously familiar with that as well. Yeah, it's good. It's nice because between me and Joey, we go to some tournaments. I tend to go to more than Joey at the moment, but it's nice to be able to get on people who really play at the top of the game, and I feel like it's very helpful.
Yeah.
If to be honest, it'd be helpful just to have a conversation with them, whether or not it's recorded and broadcast.
Yeah, I can't agree with that more. So for those of you watching, if you want some more Netrunner content in your life because UK Stimhack League is not enough, be sure to check out Neil Redding Grid and Dead Channel. Where can they find you again?
The YouTube channel is called Near Reading Grid. You can basically just search for it. It's Reading, like the town in the UK. I suffer every day as a result of that name choice. Dead Channel, we post on Reddit whenever we have new episodes, that kind of thing. So you can find us on there, or the website is nearreadinggrid.co.uk. That links to the videos and also Dead Channel.
All right, awesome. Okay, moving on. Also with us, this guy, he built a core set deck for beginners. It's a Gabriel Santiago deck, and it contains toolbox as a console. Freaking toolbox. It's Dave Edrington. Hi, Dave.
Hey.
What are you doing? What are you thinking?
Well, Toolbox teaches the one everything they need to know. It's got memory on it, it's got link, it's got recurring credits. That's all stuff they need to know about.
I'm sorry, Dave. You did not buy advertisement space on my channel. You're not allowed to speak anymore. No, okay. I guess what everyone wants to know from you is, being the one and only Swiftie, are we going to expect a lot of Taylor Swift references today?
Well, I mean, I'll try and keep them limited. You might be able to catch them out. I don't know if Jono's quite up to speed on all of his Taylor Swift songs.
I will be on guard.
Bye.
All right, so yeah, as you might have guessed, our first two rounds today on UK Stimhack League will be casted by Jono and Swiftie. Also going to join us later are Rich, also known as Highwire, and as mentioned by Jono, we have Chris Dyer joining in later as well. All right, let's now get into introducing our four players for the night, shall we? First off, we have Laurie Porter, first seed of this tournament. He has won 1 Nationals, 2... Oh my gosh, so many laureates. You all can just read off the screen yourself. He invented Laurie points, and apparently he was once found in a bin. Laurie Porter, what do you think about him?
Laurie's a really good player. He's the pride of Brighton, probably. He's one of the best travelled Netrunner players in the UK, that's for sure. And, his contribution to the community with the Laurie points, the ranking system that he runs alongside official tournaments, and also now he's kind of taken over the reins of the unofficial BABW series of tournaments. He pays a huge, he helps the community in a huge way, and he's a good player. I don't know. He seems most comfortable playing Andromeda. I know that he's been playing with a lot of potatoes recently. I have a feeling that's what he's playing today, actually. I'm not sure if we want to go into detail on their decks. He's actually playing Wizard and potatoes today, I think. Yeah. Is that right? But he's certainly a good player. So
potatoes get hype. I'm rooting for Laurie just for that reason alone. So yeah, Laurie's CV is very decked out if there were ever to be a Netrunner CV. Dave, any thoughts on Laurie?
Well, he did find the mythical 4th bird breaker for the criminal faction. I mean, not many people know that Mongoose is also a bird.
I knew someone would bring that up. Well, we'll be talking more about Mongoose later, but let's move on to our second player, our second seed, Don Bowden. Echo is the Bristol SC reigning Bristol SC champion, should I say, and came in pretty high at Worlds 2016, 24th place. I think he was just 1 win short of making the top cut. He probably has notifications disabled on Slack due to his very unfortunate user handle, and apparently he has never failed a CI combo. How about that, Jono?
Yeah, so Don's quite an underrated player. I think he's very good. He trains. I mean, he plays a lot in Birmingham, and you know that place is awash with some of the best players. But I always identify him with CI in my head because he doesn't play exclusively CI, but he does play a lot. The best CI story I know about him was how he actually beat Dan Dargenio at Worlds because Dan Dargenio was on CI and failed to combo against him. And to have him tell it, he'd spotted the line that Dan needed to take to complete the combo, but Dan didn't. He didn't get it. So presumably it's because he managed to glare at him, intimidatingly put him off. That's the real tech against CI, I think.
That's amazing. Swifty, any experiences with his CI combo?
I was playing the Andromeda deck with Blackfile, the Source, and all that sort of hate, the DLR Andromeda deck. And then Dom proceeded to combo through all of the hate and then still win with the Blackfile installed. He lasted another 3 turns through amazing CI play and me messing up.
Wow, that's amazing. So yeah, yep. For those of you who might not be in the loop, Don is a rather notable CI player in the UK. But thankfully for the stream, he is not playing CI tonight. What are his decks again? He is playing Leela and CTM. Am I right about that?
Yep. The only non-wizard runner.
That's right.
The only
he's
non-wizard
definitely
runner.
He's definitely playing Leela, and yes, I think you're right. CTM.
Yep. So if there's anyone who is rooting against Wizard, this is the guy you're looking for. All right. We'll move on to our third seed. This is Dan Strong, Ouroboros. He made top 8 in Edinburgh Regionals 2015, and yeah, I just realized he's the first player ever to make the UK Stimhack League finals twice. He finished top 4 in the UK Stimhack League number 1, the very first one, and he's now here again, hoping to take down the title this time. He is apparently constitutionally incapable of catching flights. Jono, any thoughts on this strong goose?
Dan is another very good player. Actually, I've played him a few times. I think every time I've played him, he's been on CI. So that he's another one who, between him and Don, I was surprised we didn't have a CI tonight. So I'll be interested to see anyway how he progressed with that. He's on. He's on Palana, if I remember that right.
Yes, he's on Palana and Wizard.
Okay, so I've been interested to see how he does with that. Anyway, he's a very good player, and I've played him at BABWs and that kind of thing. He is somewhat famous for his shockingly poor logistics when it comes to travel, missing train stops, missing flights, booking flights in the wrong direction.
He's turned up to the station at one point, or the wrong airport.
That's right, yeah. I think the most famous tale is that he went to an airport to catch a flight, but he booked the flight and it was actually in the wrong direction. So he booked it to go from his destination to where he was travelling from, instead of the other way around. So hopefully he has some more coordination and skill tonight anyway.
Yeah, Netrunner players seem to be dysfunctional.
The first time playing against Dan, it was so Dave, Sarah and I, another Aldershot player, we went to a smaller store champ, and we both took a rather degenerate deck, and he had to play both of us in Swiss, and he had to play both of us in the cut, and he had enough of Diaper by the end of that. He was not a fan of, and he has maintained his hatred of the Diaper archetype since then.
You people are terrible.
You wait till we play Diaper 5.0, that's the new version.
Yeah, public service announcements, stay well away from Eldershot. Alright, we'll move on to our final player. It's our 4th seed, Motion Blur. He's very enigmatic, mysterious. No one knows much about him. Do any of you know about him?
I know a little about him. He is he's based on the South Coast. I think he's based in Portsmouth actually. I've faced him at both of the 2 store champs that took place in or around Bournemouth. In both cases, I think he was 1 or 2 places from the cut. He missed out. He's not a player that I've seen around a lot. I think he's very new to the game actually, and from what I played against, he seemed to like I think he played Wizard in both of those two store champs, and I think he was on. Sorry, Southampton, not Portsmouth. I apologise. I think he was on Wizard in both of those two, and he seems to prefer the kind of ETF. He played an Assembly Lines Jeeves ETF in one. I'm not sure where he's on tonight. Certainly, he's newer to the game and hasn't got quite the reputation the other three players have. But hopefully he can create a reputation, right?
Yeah, that's the beauty of the UK Stimhack League. Anyone and everyone can be, rise up through the ranks. As you said, he's playing his typical decks today, or so it might seem. He's on Wizard and Engineering the Future. All right. So that wraps up our player intros. This is the bracket we're looking at. Because Laurie Poulter and Echo are both the first and second seeds respectively, they will get to choose sides, and we will be casting one of the two games. Which games have we chosen today, friends?
So I'm pretty sure we were going to see Don Echo play Leela against Dan Strong's Palana.
Yep, that will be the matchup that we'll be seeing first. So let's head to JNet and get things started right away. Okay. Do they have the game up?
I have not seen it, but I haven't been watching. So
it disappeared.
Did it?
I can see a game between Laurie and Pete.
Yeah, that's going on right now.
So they've started. It looks like the other one hasn't.
No, our viewers are waiting. They want the game. We want the game. Right. Right, looks like the game is up. It should start soon. Alright, the game will begin soon. And as mentioned earlier, our commentators for the first two rounds will be Swifty and Jono. So I'll mute myself. Two of you can take it away.
Before I do, I'm going to have to find out what the password is.
There's only one possible password.
The usual one, Jono.
So I guess I'm sure I can hack in.
Okay. All ready to go?
Okay, I'm ready.
Right.
So, Dave, you there?
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. So in this first round, we've got Dan Strong playing Palana, then against Don Bowden, who's playing Leela. It's quite interesting. These are not exactly the most common IDs or even factions you'd see nowadays. I mean, Criminal is obviously decently played, but I haven't seen a Leela for a little time. I've been interested to see what type of Palana this is as well. We've already got Friends in High Places, which suggests it might be a fairly horizontal Palana, if such a thing exists. I'm not sure if you've got any thoughts based on these opening hands.
Well, I think Friends is just more useful to recur the Caprices and the Marcus Batties that you need, and just really useful against all the ice destruction that's there. I wouldn't necessarily assume it's going sideways.
Yeah, I guess it's only one influence, and it's good against ice destruction. Yeah, you make a good point.
I mean, some of the Palana decks I've seen recently have a lot of Grail in it, so I would be worried about having to deal with Grail if I was Leela.
Yeah, and I've spotted already that Don has a tracker in hand, which is going to be some pretty good anti-Batty tech.
Yeah, well, a few new cards that they're playing. Newer cards.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see. Leela obviously is an identity that's built very much around a momentum and getting a kind of early advantage and capitalising, almost snowballing. So it'd be interesting to see if Don can get the upper hand against Palana, which is going to be a bit slower to get started. But as the game moves into the mid game, might be able to be set up defensively enough to make it really difficult for a criminal.
Yeah, well, where Palanir gets their main teeth from is all their horrible code gates that they've got, or Jinteki's code gates in general.
Yeah.
So Don having Gordian Blade will be really useful to deal with the DNA trackers or stacked DNA trackers when they're there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we haven't seen. So Dan has drawn his first agenda. It's a corporate sales team. I'm not sure what the agenda suite is going to be like, but I'm going to guess it's 3 Future Perfect, 3 Nisei, 3 sales team.
It's 3 sales team, 2 GFI, Nisei, and a cheeky Philotic.
Okay, 3 Nisei.
3 Nisei.
3 Nisei, okay. And cheeky Philotic, okay, I do like that quite a lot. That's a nice way to close out the game as well. If the runner expects you to have to advance all your agendas, and that you can't never advance, you can kind of cheat that one out.
But is he going to respect the inside job from Leela, or do you just double ice up your centrals?
Yeah, you might just jam it in. Inside job is a card that's been dropped quite a lot from criminal lists, but I mean that just makes it all the more dangerous. And also, Don's dropped John Masanori here, which is kind of dangerous because he can expect that all servers are going to be iced at this point. So I expect he's going to get a few tags.
Oh yeah, John Masanori tags me far too often.
Yeah, I'm definitely in that camp.
Although he has discarded the tracker, which I would have thought would be quite useful against Batty.
That is true and very interesting. Yeah, I would have thought he might put that down quite early because you can expect Batties, and in particular it's going to be a problem. Interesting. Okay, so he's put Fem on HQ. We can expect Siphon. Here it is.
Yeah.
Femming Vanilla. I've been there. When you need it, you need it. But he can now trivially get into HQ, right? Even not fully set up. And HQ obviously is is where he's going to be able to punish. The Siphon into a legwork, for instance, might allow him to bounce ice as well because of Lily's ability, and he does legwork. So he's going to pull 3 out of 5, and there's an agenda. So he gets. So he does get the sales team. I wonder what he bounces here. R&D, I guess.
Yeah.
Archive's interesting. Okay.
Oh, it's that classic Leela snowball. Looks like it would be hard for the corp to shake that off.
Yeah. And he has an inside job as well, interestingly, so he can still pressure this remote, and Dan isn't necessarily aware of that. For Dan's turn here, I expect him to continue icing up, though. He's already got 30 credits. He's already got so much money. So he's not worried about economy at this point, so he might just want to install some ice. He's going to draw.
Really? I think you just want to double ice your important remote, so double ice R&D and then double ice the remote.
I think you want to ice HQ as well. Maybe even trashing this vanilla just to protect yourself against Siphon. I mean, there's always more Siphons when you're a criminal.
Well, I think you're on 28 credits. I wouldn't really expect same old Siphon as much, but I suppose if...
he did trash John Masanori, interestingly, because of the floated Siphon tags. He left sec testing, which is probably fair if the servers are all iced.
So if Don is floating the 2 tags, do you think he's going to be on a more Siphon spam-esque deck? So
that might be his best plan. The Siphon isn't going to deny Palanir the money, really. He's already got 30 credits, so he's not going to deny him the money he needs to defend, but it will give Leela economy, although he's got Temujins, so he's going to have to clear the tags before he drops Temujin. I mean, I guess he could drop it and use it 3 times, but
it's a bit of a misplay there.
Yes, that was a bit of a misplay because he named HQ for sec testing. Never mind. It's a waste of a Siphon cards, sadly.
Yeah. So the Daedalus complex was actually legal for these games.
Yes.
I believe Don is one of the only people that's playing with one of the new cards.
They weren't particularly fruitful, were they? What's he playing?
He's playing 2 Exploit.
Okay, interesting.
So that is the run all 3 centrals and then D-res up to 3 cards.
It seems quite nice for... that seems like a decent Leela card, because if you get the upper hand, then you can really kind of just play a really strong denial game.
Having 2 emergency shutdowns and then 2 exploits. He's really looking to capitalise on many Leela triggers, I think.
Yeah. Dan seems happy to just continue icing. I think that's right. He needs to kind of defend. He could have trashed this vanilla. He didn't. I'm not sure.
And then would you frenz it back?
Maybe. It saves you a credit.
You can't move the fem counter. There's no way to trash the fem and
Right, that's a
reinstall it.
mind game, which I'm going to have to read. It has a really long sub, and as far as I remember, you never really want it to fire. But
So I included this mind games in a deck for a Reading event, and I played against Catherine from One Lost Click, and she encountered it and said to fire it, and I had no idea what happened. There was this text that I assumed people broke it, and then I won the side game. I had no idea what to do with the ice. It's
just a zero strength, zero res strength 4 code gate. That because the thing is, I have not ever finished reading that subroutine. It's easier to break it.
yeah, exactly. But no,
that's the real tax.
He was going to do the side game, and I had no idea what to do after that.
We have a cheeky Cobra in this list, which is pretty nice, especially when combined with Batty. I wonder if that'll do some damage. I'm going to expect that Leela doesn't have a lot in the way of recursion, which is to say any, probably.
No, there's no recursion in the Leela deck. But Dan has also he's got one of the new pieces of ice from the Daedalus complex. He's got a Z.
2.0.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So I guess that might also be a good Batty target. And maybe why.
I mean, criminals are always upset when they lose their Desperado because they're quite greedy. And well, when I have multiple ones, I just discard them thinking that they're perfectly safe and nothing's going to happen to them.
Yeah, I've been there. Interesting. Okay, so Leela's dropped RDI. That's a decent Leela choice. You tend to get that instead of the medium or the turning wheel. You may still get a turning wheel actually, but based on the way that Leela tends to play, I think that's good. Yeah,
I think RDI as an inside job really complements the Leela play style.
Yeah, and we're getting from Dan here. He's just continuing to kind of slowly spread his ice across the board. Very glacier, just gradually building up, and it's gonna. I think it will prove a problem for Leela, who only has now 4 credits.
Should be able to make some off Temujin.
And that seems to be his plan now. He's still floating 2 tags though, so this Temujin is going to get trashed, right? If you've got 27 credits as a corp, even if it's only got a few uses left on it, I think you still trash it. Maybe Don.
An agenda. I'd like to jam an agenda and try and score it, so you don't have time to really trash it.
You're both right. It's going to double advance the sales team. Interesting.
Yeah, I think you just leave it and score the corporate sales team.
Okay. So when this sales team gets scored, Dan has played so that he will probably have a click free next turn to return whatever ice Leela bounces, which is pretty nice. Don's got another RDI in hand, so if he can find a way into R&D, that could get pretty painful because obviously all the ice will get lifted up. He's going to stall Aron. I mean, I worry that Don has straight up forgotten he's got these 2 tags still.
Yeah, I would not have installed the Aron before clearing the tags.
But he's going to run the remote. Guardian Blade is expensive to break DNA Tracker, but everything is. But he's going to be able to get through.
But then again, it deals with the stacked code get issues. I mean, if he runs into a mind games, he's already at strength. I believe it's a Lotus Field is the inner piece of ice.
Yes, you may be right. That's true. Dan then is going to rely on Caprice to save this agenda, and he has won the side game, so the agenda stays safe. Don might consider running again. He only has 8 credits, and that tracker is expensive to break.
I don't think he can run again. He won't be able to really contest the side game, can he?
You're right. He won't. He won't actually have any money, so he can't really run it again. I think you run Archives then, so just for money. I'm not sure where Sec Test was named this turn. I assume it is Archives.
Sec Test is on Archives, but
yeah, so you could run for money.
I mean, Aaron is a really strong card in any matchup. Having that installed while you're tagged is just going to be a problem.
Yeah. So Dan is going to double advance and score. So we're going to get a Leela bounce. And Leela is going to... so in fact, Don can use the Aaron counters to clear the 2 tags, and he may do that. He does do that. You might have considered, if you were Dan, trashing the Aaron before scoring the agenda.
I'd have trashed it before scoring the agenda and then discard a card. Maybe the restructure because your money's disappeared actually quite rapidly.
It has, because he's rested a few things and he scored an agenda, but he has just scored a sales team, so his money's not going to go down.
Yeah.
I think he's in a decent position. He might, next turn, there's no pressing needs. He might consider a restructure. I don't know, install his ice, install his tracker somewhere. He could also fast track and jam an agenda in the remote. If you've got a Nisei out, that'd be pretty huge. So he's going to get a run on HQ. Just a normal run, interesting. I wonder if he's probing.
Yeah.
It's an agenda. That's one of the things Lila's quite good at, though. If she does just probe and manage to pull an agenda, then it can lead to her getting some good momentum. We get shut down on the remote. Interesting. So Don's now going to go after the Caprice probably and try and kill it. Yeah. In fact, he's going to play legwork. Interesting. So he might expect there's another agenda in HQ, and he's hoping that he can hit it and bounce the tracker. Maybe he's going to hit an Ichi though.
That is expensive.
Yeah, that is expensive with Fem. He's got the Mongoose in hand, but he's short on clicks. So he's going to use Fem to break it, which is not too nice.
There can't be much between breaking it with a Fem and breaking it with a Mongoose, is there?
To be honest, it's not great with Mongoose either. So you're probably right. But he's going to access 3 cards. No agendas, of course, because there are none. He's got 1 click left this turn. He's going to run Arcos some money. That seems reasonable.
He's your credit to make 6 credits.
Yeah, on click 4, it's good to run because it's good economy. So we're going to get a click 1 celebrity gift. That's going to help quite a lot.
And then
Dan's going to reveal his entire hand. Why not? Following a legwork as well. And then he'll install a mystery ice on HQ. But if Don's paying attention, he'll be
totally not a DNA tracker.
But it'll be a DNA tracker. He doesn't really want to hit. And Dan's economy is now looking decent again.
Oh yeah, definitely more stable.
John Masanori makes a return. It's going to run archives for not a lot of money. I guess it's worth it. You get a card and 2 credits. Okay, all right.
It's still worth it. It's still Desperado and sec testing. It's still a really nice economy. I mean, even on the most wanted list, Desperado never goes out of style.
Yeah. Well, hold on. Now, hold on, Dave. We talked about this. You're not allowed to drop that. Not allowed to drop those references. I spotted that one.
Fine, I'll give you that one.
Okay, but we do see the exploit, which has arrived in Don's hand. I think that's pretty much going to be a blank card in this matchup. With his economy at the moment, he's going to struggle to get into all 3 centrals.
Yeah.
But it'll be pretty big. There's not. I mean, the res dice at the moment isn't even that expensive.
You probably don't really want the tracker at this point either, because it's 2 memory.
The tracker's good against Batty though. He's going to be in the tracker. I mean, I'm a paranoid kind of guy. I would like it. Interesting. We get Philotic. I wonder if he's going to jam that in a remote.
Sneak it out.
It's not really sneaking it, because if it's next to a Caprice, there's not a lot else it could be. It could be a Batty.
Could be a Batty. Could be a Cyberdex.
He's going to fast track. Is he going to fast track for a different agenda and install the
fast track when need to?
Get in the Nisei and just stick the Nisei. Okay.
Well,
right.
no one goes scoring window. Well, if he's got a fairly good scoring window, Don can't make 2 runs.
Don has 13 credits, so Dan's leaning on the side game here a little bit. Don can almost certainly get into that remote, especially with the inside job in hand, actually. Yeah, I mean, if there's any barriers on that remote, then Don's going to have a problem.
Well, do you inside job the remote, or install the RDI, and then inside job R&D?
That's not bad, because that you might hit an agenda, which would allow you to bounce a piece of ice on the remote.
There's only 19 cards left in R&D.
So we can get a special order for it is a Corroder, in fact, not Paperclip from this deck. Probably as a result of having 2 RDI. So he's going to drop the Corroder and probably challenge the remote. No, he's going to Siphon. Interesting. Okay.
Well, having the Corroder makes it just a bit more easier to special order and install it in one go. I always found the 4 credits kind of annoying for Paperclip, actually.
Yeah, no, I agree that special order for Paperclip is kind of painful. Yeah. But he is going to Siphon. I guess he worried that outside ice. That was a weird install, because he knew the outside ice was a DNA tracker, because it was installed immediately following a total celebrity gift.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting choice. He was obviously worried it was a barrier before he siphoned, but actually he didn't need to be. He's quite poor, though. So he can... I think he's going to struggle to get in.
Yeah, he's going to struggle to get in. I don't think he can deal with the Itchy.
No, I think he's just going to have to jack out after this tracker and take a tag.
John Masanori just causing more problems.
Well, yeah, I mean, the tracker was the real problem there. And the special order for the Corroder, which wasn't needed. He's going to run archives for a small profit. He's still tagged, though. So, once again, Dan has the option. He could trash, say, Aaron and leave this agenda. It would appear to be perfectly safe for another turn. And he might consider doing that. I
would actually leave Aaron and trash the sec testing. because while Don is really poor,
You can trash a few things.
Trash the sec testing, and then maybe ice up the archives a bit more, just to really lock him out of getting money anywhere.
So he seems to have made that decision that this agenda doesn't need to be scored this turn. The scoring window is pretty wide open. So he has taken the decision already to trash Aaron Maron. I wonder if he's considering trashing anything else. Trashing sec test, like you say, is a good idea. He is going to trash it. He's going to leave John Mass, which is...
And then advance again, just so you've got some more options next turn.
And advance again, which again will give him the clicks grace to recover from the Lila bounce. And this sales team is still ticking in, so it's helping him out. Slow to pay out, but it's such a good card. And Don's going to click for credits.
Yeah.
And inside job the remote. Okay, interesting. So he's betting that Dan can't res both of these pieces of ice and contest a side game. And in fact, Dan's just going to lean on the side game.
Yeah. Well, he couldn't res both of them, he could he?
He probably could afford to res both, but it would put him in a tough position. So I understand it, especially with an RDR on the table. So Dan does win the side game again, which gives another John Mass tag, but that's not really the most relevant thing. It's the agenda score. So Dan's going to get the Nisei out, which means if he draws a future perfect and has a decent economy, he can jam it in with the Nisei and the Caprice and feel pretty safe. This Philotic now is maybe a bit of a liability because it's not going to win him the game, and it's just going to allow Lila to bounce cards. So he might consider washing it away with Jackson.
But I mean, he's leaning heavily on scoring from the Caprice and Batty. I mean, people say that with Room Mill out that this is just not a good option anymore. I mean, it's hard to spec with unique upgrades with Caprice since Room came out. I mean, that's what people say.
So in fact, he did put the Jackson in the remote, but he did not discard the Philotic. So the Philotic does remain in play. And with the Jackson in the remote, I guess then his plan is to next turn draw. Don is going to click for credits and hit R&D, and he's going to hit a vanilla, which is fine. He has the credit, so he can break. He's going to hit the mind game.
You might just be the safest place to keep your agendas at this point.
Yeah, and with 2 RDI accesses, this could be a really good way to... interesting. Okay, so Dan's going to use Jackson to dilute R&D a bit, presumably putting back
some money on a Jackson.
Put back some non-trashable things. That's pretty good. He's down to 20 cards now, so we're going to see 2 cards from R&D. Okay, Echo's going to see 2 cards from R&D. Presumably did not hit an agenda. So,
but that is quite a weak R&D.
It is, yeah.
Get in there.
So if he can get Future Perfect, GFI, then he can throw in the remote. I guess he's just going to money up, and probably ice R&D. If he can get another tracker, exactly what he does do, in fact, install the tracker on R&D, that's going to be pretty strong against Gordian. Don's going to draw meanwhile and just money up with Gamble. There's the GFI. So now's the time, I think, for Dan. He's got 19 credits, and he's got the economic advantage, and he's going to go for it. So he's going to install double advance.
Yeah,
and he's got the Nisei counter. He's got the Caprice on the line. So unless Don is about to pull out political operative or something like that, but he's going to struggle to get into HQ. He does have an inside job, so Don can challenge this remote. And this is the thing. I mean, the Nisei counter is the Nisei counter
is the main problem. Like, you can't do it too many times.
Yeah, I wonder if you drop the RDI and hit R&D, try and force a Nisei kind of use, because if he hits an agenda, he can bounce the agenda into HQ, which is going to set Dan back. That might be the best opportunity. I mean, he could hit. R&D is not too expensive to get into, so if he drops the RDI and then inside jobs on R&D, that seems decent. He's going to access 3 cards. If he hits an agenda, then he's going to be able to bounce this agenda in the remote, or he's going to force a Nisei use. He's going to inside job the remote instead then.
I think I'd have preferred him running R&D because there's you'd expect 9 agendas or thereabouts in the
they're not in the bin unless they are, and I haven't been paying attention. There are 3 face down cards.
I don't think there's any in the bin.
But there won't be a lot of agendas in this deck, I suppose. So the inside job on the remote then, Dan's going to have to think about this because he does have money. So if he can res, he might just lean on the side game for the first because he does have a Nisei counter.
DNA tracker into Lotus Field with a side game that's really expensive.
Yeah, it is. He might consider resing. I think maybe you don't res here. If you decide you're not going to res both, then you don't res either.
You don't raise either.
Which
I
means
just
you
roll on the side game.
force the second inside job. Even if you lose the side game, you've got the Nisei counter.
Yeah.
So that's it. He's going to no res both. He's going to use the side game, and
He's 2 for 2 on side games so far. So.
he's 2 for 2. Yeah.
Hmm.
And this is it, right? If you want to play Paladin, you've got to be good at side games.
I'll bid 2 at this point.
You might be right. I don't know what to think about it. Okay, so he's won the side game. So presumably we'll see a Nisei counter. Yeah. So we get an Nisei counter, John Mass tag, which I think is no longer relevant. So Don, now that the Nisei counter is gone, he might feel better about hitting this remote again. He does only have 6 credits, so he's not going to be able to get in.
Well, he could get in. He can click
so he
some
can break
money
the
and then
Lotus field.
run in, because the DNA tracker won't actually...
It'll hurt, but
no, he still loses a lot of money from
he'd
DNA.
lose 6 credits, yeah. He
Good
needs to break DNA tracker, which is not viable if he gets rezzed. So, and if nothing else, if he runs again and Dan rezzes the DNA tracker, even if he's very poor, he can pretty much guarantee that Don's going to access with no money, which means that Caprice will keep him out.
So he'd need 9 credits to get in there?
Yeah, it would be another inside job at this point that Dan would fear, but there doesn't seem to be one in range. So I wonder, now that the Nisei counter's gone, I wonder if the plan for Don is to drop the RDI and hit R&D, but it's so...
Credits 1 R&D.
So he's going to take 2 and run R&D. He's only got 8 credits. So he can get through... you can get through Vanilla and Mind Game fairly cheaply. DNA Tracker is going to hose in, though. He could face check it all. He could lose 6 to the DNA Tracker, pay 1 for the Vanilla, and then have 1 credit to play on the side game, so this Mind Game fires. All right, let's find out what this actually does. So, I need to actually read this. That wasn't a joke.
I think he's got to break it. And then, I don't think he's got many out here. Shame we didn't see many more of the new Daedalus Complex cards, though, because I think...
so he pays to break and then jacks out, and that's going to be it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well played, Dan. So he was able to force the GFI out. He had the Nisei counter and the Caprice, and that's all he needed. Ice is not relevant. Although the threat of the Ice kept Don out, his economies suffered because he was a criminal, and he was playing against a Glacier deck. And if you rely on run-based economy, then you're going to have... you're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah. He only saw 1 Temujin, so he was quite poor for most of the game, and he lost his security testing as well.
Yeah, that's true. He was quite risky with tax, and he paid the price for that because Dan was rich. Dan had money, so he could spare the trash. Yeah. Yeah, but it was a good game. It was an interesting game, actually. So I'm assuming that Ben is on the line and we can pull him back in.
Hopefully.
Hey Ben, how's it going?
Yep, that was a pretty good game.
Yeah, it was quite interesting. I don't know if you had any particular thoughts about how it went.
Yeah, I had a few. But yeah, they were mostly shared in the live chat, so that's all good. Apparently, Motion Blur won as Wiz. So
Oh, really? Against Potatoes?
it seems like that's the case.
I would consider him a hero for that. Well done.
Yeah.
Putting that terrible deck in his place.
No,
I was
Potatoes
kind of
are-
rooting for Potatoes, because, I mean, you don't want to see Wizard all over the place.
Well, yeah, everyone's wizard, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, well, that's interesting. So we are going to have Motion Blur versus Strong Goose, Ouroboros, then Strong in the winners finals, and we have Don and Laurie facing off against each other in the lower bracket. So
if Peter was, you said he was runner in his game? He was wizard in his game, he won. So he's going to corp, right? And Dan is going to run in the next game. Is that right?
that seems... Dan was corping, so Dan...
So Dan corp, so he'll run, and Peter ran, so he'll corp, I guess. They just swap.
yeah, they swap. So Dan is going to play wizard.
Wizard, okay.
Motion Blur is going to play ETF.
Okay.
Yep, so Laurie and Don will be taking a break right now. Meanwhile, we'll go on to the winners finals first.
So I've
okay,
actually had
right.
a quick look at Motion Blur's ETF deck, and there's some interesting choices in there.
Yeah.
odd ice choices in there, I'd say.
Like what? What have we got? What surprises can we expect?
Well, there's a Bailiff in the ETF deck. The nice
Okay.
Wayland Barrier.
Yeah. Okay.
And there's a Lab Dog as well.
Okay. Okay. Sure. Is that going to do work against Wizard? Maybe.
I mean, it will be able to trash the Cypher or the Archives interface, something like that, like in Wizard playing. But
yeah,
wouldn't Z2.0 just be better choice? Stuff.
Because maybe I
think the Lab Dog is the runner's choice as well.
I don't know much about Z2.0, so I can't comment on that, but I am going to straight up say that Lab Dog is not a very good card. So I guess it's good against runners that only have one piece of hardware, so maybe.
I mean, Lab Dog is a trap, so it will be harder to break.
Yeah, so if the corpse only, if the runner's only hardware is good, like say Cipher or
Desperado.
something like that, then that seems decent. Or Desperado, yeah, then that seems decent. Yeah. Meanwhile, so Dan is on Wizard. I'm not sure what to expect from his Wizard, but I'm going to assume that it's a Temujin and Aaron Maron kind of reg whiz. That seems to be the flavour at the moment. There's a bit of doubles around.
It's that sort of deck, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. So Swifty, can you join the game and we can get it underway?
Okay, all right. Well, straight away we can see that Wizard has Temujin and Aaron in his opening hand. And on the corpse side, we've got Swordsman. That is nice, but that's probably not going to do much in this. And a CVS, interesting. So that may be more for. I mean, back in the day, CVS was clock protection, but that may be for medium protection nowadays. And it would do work against Parasite as well, possibly. Although Parasite is probably backed up by Cipher. I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, it just kills everything. I mean. So this Wizard deck only has one Aaron, so he was quite lucky to draw it to begin with.
Yeah, he's got scarcity, so I'll be interested to see if Pete drops that scarcity, because it'll be quite good against Temujin turn 1. So he's going to ice R&D and HQ, okay.
Yeah. Leaving that surprise Lab Dog to get them with. That's
true. Dan's going to access that Lab Dog at some point from HQ and just panic.
So I've had a quick look at Ouroboros hardware. He's got one Archives interface, 3 Cypher, and 1 Net Ready Eyes.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Net Ready Eyes is nice. So he's kind of expecting maybe he packed for a Lotus Field meta. I'm not sure. That suggests he might
Net Ready and Ice Carver so he can deal with.
You're right. He can. He doesn't need Cipher. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. I like it. Okay, so I had the pleasure of playing against Peter Cox at the Bournemouth Store Champs, and he did drop a scarcity against me on turn 1, and I did have 7 resources in my opening hand as Andromeda, and I was so sad. It makes you really evaluate how good resources are when you have to think about if they're still worth it when they cost 2 more. Something like Temujin definitely is.
I played against him in the Pool Store Championship, it was.
Yeah.
When he was on Wizard, and I think he was on Plana. And again, he dropped scarcity. In my hand, I've got my Chronotype and Wild Side, and dropping 10 credits for that was just painful, especially when I don't have much money to begin with.
Anyway, enough of that, because Peter did on his first turn rush the Vitruvius down behind some ice in the remote. Dan chose to clear a Temujin and drops Aaron Maron, and he used the counters immediately to draw some cards. So I'd say that was a reasonable expectation from Dan, that it was an agenda and he couldn't steal it, but he did manage to capitalise on it somewhat. But he has found Medium, which it turns out is the card that wins games in Netrunner. So I expect that he'll be able to rig up and put some pressure on R&D very shortly.
So ice up R&D quickly, yeah.
So icing R&D seems good. Peter's found another agenda, so he could, if he's feeling bold, he's not. He could have tried to push his luck and force that behind this ice as well. I didn't see what it was. But Dan is going to poke at R&D.
See a Shimmer Sand that he used, though.
He used the shipment from Sansan, which was interesting. I'm guessing that was an economy thing, but because he was quite poor at the time. But it is interesting because it is influence.
Try and stop fast advance to stop.
So
yeah.
it maybe. I've got a feeling there might be Jeeves in this list. So I wonder if he's also got subliminal messaging, and that is a cheeky Jeeves combo.
Yeah. He does actually have 2 Jeeves in the deck. I was waiting for you to sniff out the Jeeves in the deck.
That was I'm going to say, a delightful ruse by Peter, who was incredibly poor and put something in the remote and then resed it to let him pay to res the architect, which was defending it. Dan does have Mimic, though. So this architect is not exactly doing work on the remote. So he can put taxing things behind it, like, I don't know, assembly lines like economy pieces.
He's seen the arc lockdown in hand, and there's a paperclip in the trash.
Yes. So now I wonder if Dan is considering trying to find a barrier. He's not.
Yeah.
I've been in this position where you just desperately trying to find a barrier you can headbutt to get the paperclip out of the bin. I wonder, but he's so poor. Peter's so poor. I wonder if he does even. He did not. He's going to lateral growth a different piece of ice on HQ. Interesting. Okay. He's decided still not to install this lab dog. Interesting. I wonder if it's very good. He's going to raise a fetch
with the lab dog. It's not worth it.
And Dan did pull an agenda from HQ, but there were 2 out of 4, so that seems like decent odds. He did spend his entire turn getting through a Fairchild. I wonder if he'll go back. He might put a Parasite on it, maybe. And he still hasn't got a Cipher, but he does have a Sucker. Interesting. Peter's going to draw with Jackson. He might well get rid of this. So he's going to bin some cards from HQ. He did not. He kept an agenda.
Yeah, so respect to the room as well, popping it early.
Yeah, he did, and I think you have to do that. You have to predict the room mill. It's just so common nowadays. But he's going to put back a mystery card, but also a lateral growth and a CVS. So the CVS must be for medium, as Dan seems happy having scored an agenda to start installing more resources. So
this ETF deck is quite poor. He's just clicking for credits.
It is very poor for an ETF deck as well.
Yeah.
It seems to be relying entirely on the ID for economy. We saw an assembly lines, but we haven't seen a hedge or anything like that. I suspect that may be the way of it.
Well, there's not actually. He may have taken a leaf out of Joe's book. There's no hedge funds in the deck.
I've played decks with no hedge funds for a while now, but it's such a good card. It sounds dumb to say, but hedge fund's quite a good card. So he's going to install ice on archives because you might as well. Gives you credit anyway. What's the lapdog?
Yeah.
That would be quite a surprise, I expect, at some point. Maybe.
Maybe next turn he can try and score an agenda.
Maybe. He's got vanilla and a lotus field, so he could consider putting those 2 on a remote, force an agenda behind it, and then res whatever Dan can't break. But he is so poor, that's not really an option. Parasite on HQ is going to do some work. Dan can't trash it yet, but I guess it's going to build up, and he's got Sucker.
You give it a couple of turns, then he can just yog his way through it.
That's true. In 2 turns time, he can just yog through it. He also only has 4 credits, but on the other hand, he has 2 daily casts, so he's got economy coming in. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if he threw down the yog, you can run it a couple of times, and then he'll have the Suckers just to kill it.
So he's found a Cipher as well. I wonder if he drops that. He might even consider gambling. He's quite poor. Or he could just liberate it and money up. I feel like he might be tempted to pressure this remote. I'm not sure how he does that, though. The paperclip's in the bin. So if it's a barrier, he's okay. He's quite poor. He's just going to straight up run it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that scoring mode is as safe as sand as you want it to be.
Yeah, but he can drop the yog and run again, and I think you do. He doesn't know it's an agenda, but he might suspect it is. You could even gamble, drop the yog and run.
Well, you could just parasite it and then run again.
Yeah. You got a whole world of options. He does, in fact, gamble, drop the yog, and run the remote. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Well, Breaker's going to break.
Interesting. But he's going to get in for very little money.
Two credits, really. Yeah.
Still an ABT. Okay, that's going to give him Marin counters. And I feel like the economy is very definitely on his side now. As we see a Biotic. Interesting. So between Liberated, not Liberated, between the Duck Gun, Biotic, and Shipment from Sansan, you can score an agenda out of hand fairly cheaply. So
The
maybe
shame is
that's...
not seen Jeeves to pull off any Jeeves combos, which I just never managed to do myself.
Lateral, which is the name of the card I was trying to remember a moment ago, and Shipment is a Jeeves combo, so you can do that. So he has those pieces. He doesn't need the Subliminal. So between those two, he can score out of hand if he has a Jeeves. It seems pretty obvious that he does, but he hasn't drawn it yet. Meanwhile, now that he has a Yok, he can pillage HQ, and he's going to do that. He suspects there might be an agenda. In fact, we know there's not. He's going to hit 2 Arc Lockdowns, or perhaps the same Arc Lockdown. And he's going to trash Cipher. Interesting. He obviously feels like he's in a good enough place. Ice Destruction isn't really going to be necessary. Oh, he's got 2, you're right.
Got 2. But either way, until he finds that one of net ready, that Lotus Field's pretty safe.
So he's going. Peter's going to continue the ruses and drop an assembly lines in this remote, daring Dan to run again. He's going to make money if he does, of course.
It costs him 2 credits to check it. It's not the worst.
No, it's not very expensive, but it does cost him a click, and it will allow Peter to continue making money. The other nice thing about assembly lines is if it doesn't get trashed, it lets you install the Jeeves as part of the Jeeves combo. So the Jeeves doesn't even need to go on the table.
Sure.
But Dan is going to check it, and he's going to run it. Pete is going to make money, and Dan is going to trash it for free, being Wizard. But Peter's recovered a little bit. He was very low on money. He was down to 3 or 4 credits, and he's now back up to 12. He has some res dice. This Fairchild's going to go away fairly soon.
You'd like to try and find some agendas to start scoring, though, behind the Lotus Field while you can. So
lateral growth is going to install the Jeeves in the remote. There's not really anything to stop Dan checking it again. He has a Temujin on a heavily compromised HQ, although it's now iced, and he has daily costs, so he's making enough money to check the remote. I assume he will do that.
So would you think about installing the slums from before doing this?
Maybe. Dan might not have thought much about what it is. There's not a lot of assets in this game. Now that he's seen Jeeves, he might be more tempted to drop the slums next time. At the moment, he's only really seen assembly lines and agendas, so he wasn't exactly getting a lot of value out of slums. But now that he's seen Jeeves, he might
just
consider.
to stop shenanigans from friends in high places, which you'd expect to be in an HB deck, and
That's true.
stuff continually thrown in the remote.
Yeah, that is true. So another Lotus Field is going to do work. Although Dan has now found his Nerity Eyes, so these Lotus Fields are going to go away very soon. And that's going to be quite a swing. Actually, he might get those down quite soon, especially with the Temujin on HQ. Instead, he's going to check the remote on the last click. He's going to trivially break in. He's going to access the G's, but will he trash it? Yes, of course.
Yeah, trash the G's.
Yeah,
you include G's in the deck to do degenerate stuff with it.
So we're going to Biotic out a Vitruvius. Interesting. He might have considered the AVT to get him some ice, and that would have helped him a lot. Straight up says Clot. Okay, good. Let's not play around here. We all know the game. Okay. He does score a Vitruvius out of hand. Interestingly, he didn't score the AVT. I wonder if he's tempted to fire it and thought that now was not a good time to do that.
Well, there's 16 ice in this ETF deck.
Okay, so I'm not sure what the odds are. There's not exactly a lot of ice in the bin. There's one parasite Fairchild.
Yeah.
Dan's going to run HQ a couple of times, and
just 3 runs. I mean, it'd be nice just to have that sucker installed at this point.
but he did miss the agenda. I wonder if it's not exactly safe. The remote, if he. There is paperclip in the bin, so if he arc lockdowns and installs the AVT and puts the vanilla on the remote, then he might be able to score out.
Well, Wizard is running 2 paperclips.
That's true,
There
and
could be one hidden on the Peddler.
There is one on Peddler. Is that interesting? Okay.
Well, there could be, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, given that Wizard only has 2 cards in hand, Peter might expect there's not a paperclip in hand. So if he thinks that he can snipe it out of the bin, he might consider it safe. Okay.
I mean, I would have. So having the slums installed meant you could have just got rid of the CVS, and then it's just not a problem for any macrophages that get rezzed or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I assume the CVS, given that there was no clot, I assume the CVS was for medium, and that's why it was on R&D.
Yeah.
It did. I guess it denied a medium counter there. Although to be honest, Dan seems reasonably comfortable. I mean, if Peter only has 4 credits, and he does not exactly have a well defended HQ. Yeah, I wonder how confident Dan's going to be.
I mean, yeah, Wizard can just easily demolish the R&D. He's got the recurring credits to trash any cards in it, and he can just easily get in. It's a shame I've not seen that Lapdog Wes, though.
Yes. So either my connection has dropped, or these guys are thinking quite a lot. And I'm hoping you're going to tell me it's the latter.
So Motion Blur trashed the Lotus Field, and he installed a...
All right, that answers that question, thank you.
A vanilla over it and arc lock down the paperclip.
He did. Interesting, okay.
So
I'm going to do my best to return to the game.
So we've got a Peddler fired, got a Temi J off the Peddler. So I assume that there is something on the other Peddler that can deal with the Parasite, the vanilla.
I'm sorry to stop you there, but that is Temujin Contracts, not Temi J.
I've heard it on a very well-known podcast that it's pronounced Temi J, I think.
I'm going to support Ben in this one. I'm pretty sure the card says Temujin Contracts, yeah. Meanwhile, I am back in the game. And it looks like we've got run on R&D. And this medium count is now loaded up. So I missed an agenda score. Dan's now 6-2 up. So he's going to feel pretty good about getting this right. He's thinking before he's the Architect, but he has the Mimic. So I'm trying to work out, he must have a medium on the Peddler or something?
Well, it's the vanilla. How he can't break the vanilla.
Oh, you're right.
So he's installed the Temi J, which will stay being Temi J, and he can't deal with the vanilla.
Oh, does he have a paperclip on the Peddler then? He missed. Oh, sorry. There's a paperclip in the bin, and he missed the window because he must have misclicked. So he's going to drag it around and we're going to correct things. Yeah.
So the paperclip was on the Street Peddler when it got trashed.
Yeah, he possibly had access to the second one. I think that's what happened. So he did access 4 cards from R&D, but did not see an agenda. But he did trash a card, and he is going to Dirty Laundry back. So he's going to see +2. Net read the paperclip. Why not? I mean,
it's just one of the strengths with Wizard, just being able to get a more solid R&D lock.
But he's going to feel good about this, I think.
Or just miss.
He did miss, and he has CVS. Okay, all right, good.
Would have been better if he could have slums that, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, good work, CVS. Okay, he did not trash it, I guess. I guess it's better to know it's there. I wonder then. So Peter has now lateral growth, and if he can get a biotic or a shipment and a Jeeves, then he can score this AVT out of hand. But I guess he just moneys up. HQ is not exactly secure, but he's reluctant to overdraw, I guess, because that's just going to give Wizard more accesses.
If Peter was to put the Lotus Field over R&D, and the Lapdog fires, then there's no way that Dan can actually get into R&D anymore.
The Lapdog would let the runner trash the harder of his choice.
Oh, yes, the runner, isn't it? Oh, God.
He'd probably trash it. Yeah, it's not a very good card. He'd probably trash the Cipher in this case, because the net ready is kind of keeping him in the game, especially against Lotus.
I suppose.
Yeah.
I hope Lapdog would have done something.
But also, he's got literally no reason to run Archives, because there are CVSs in there and not agendas. So Dan seems willing, considering it's so cheap, to just repeatedly run R&D to build up medium counters.
Well, there was the Temi J was on it as well, so he was making money while doing it.
Temujin, yes, you're right, was on R&D. I think he's now going to see a fresh access on this run, I think. I think not before now, though. Okay, he did miss. So he is now back up, so it's pretty tough.
He's got a Bailiff as well.
I'm not sure what that Bailiff's going to do.
Interesting third theme in Wayland.
It's like a pop-up.
Areas that end the run.
Yeah. So it's like a pop-up, I guess.
Mini-faction Wayland.
So Dan is going to ignore the fact that Ice has appeared and still run. But it does gain Peter a credit, but apart from that, the maths has only changed by 1 credit, so there's no reason for Dan not to run repeatedly. Does have 13 credits. I kind of expect Dan to just keep pressing medium to wins, and there it is. Okay, and that's kind of how you win games in Netrunner nowadays. You just set up medium and just keep pressing it. Temujin on R&D obviously did great work. So the pressure was on very early from Dan there. Peter struggled economically very early on, and Dan found breakers quite quickly. So while Peter was able to rush out and then biotic out an agenda a bit later on, he never really got into a secure position that prevented Dan from accessing agendas. And it was just medium, right? That's how the game played out.
Well, I mean, this ETF deck did have quite a few tools to deal with the Parasite Sifo recursion.
That's true.
Running the 3 Lotus Fields, the Arc Lockdowns to get the Parasites when they're gone, and the Lab Dog to hopefully snipe a Sifo.
And even things like Architect, which aren't direct counters, but, they're good against Ice Destruction.
As well, dealing with the Parasites when they're in the bin.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm not sure what Peter could have done very differently. There was a lot of tech in his Wizard deck. Net Ready, for instance, means that Lotus Field is suddenly nowhere near as good.
Yeah, which is unfortunate when he's paid 3 influence for.
I wonder if Peter could have. It's a small thing, but when he bioticked out his second agenda, he could have made it the ABT and fired it. He might have not been very confident about the ice density of R&D, but maybe that's the kind of risk you got to take, because that would have given him a bit more momentum. It would appear, though, that most of the ice in this deck is very, very cheap, so he might not have got a lot of benefit out of it.
Yeah, I think the most expensive one is Fairchild 3.0.
Okay, all right. Which we did see, which got parasited. Apart from that, Lotus Field is reasonably expensive, but it's definitely mid-range. Interesting. Okay, so let's pull Ben back in. Yep. I'm assuming Ben's still listening.
Yes,
hello Ben.
Yep. Thanks, Jono. Thanks, Swifty. So that's round 2, and Dan has triumphed and is now in the winner bracket finals. Okay, so thanks, Swifty and Jono once again. You are free to enjoy the rest of your evening.
Great.
I will. I'll probably watch this. To be honest.
Yeah. Okay. So with Jono and Swifty rotating out, we will have Rich back with us, a regular commentator on our UK Stimhack League streams. Hi, Rich.
Hi, Ben. How are you?
Awesome. All right. Things are good. Give me a sec. All right. Yeah, doing good. Okay. So, have you been watching the stream so far?
I have. So I sat and watched Laurie play Pete in the other side of round 1. So the game that we didn't see on stream, which was Laurie's potatoes. Yes, absolutely. Against Motion Blur's Wizard.
So a quick half-minute recap. How was it like?
It was a really interesting and close game. Laurie moneyed up really quickly, managed to land a bunch of data mines, snares off naked installs, and neural emps to drop Motion Blur to less than 20 cards. He didn't have a medium out, didn't really have much of a rig, was running on a fairly low economic situation. But what he did manage to do was find in succession a House of Knives out of HQ, a Fetal off R&D, and a pair of GFIs off perhaps 6 or 7 uniced R&D accessors. And that was the game, really. It was Laurie was set up to put himself in a winning position, but Motion Blur just found the agendas before Laurie could lock him out completely.
Oh, so very jammy there, but a win is a win. Yeah, so now with both Laurie and Echo knocked down to the lower brackets, we are unfortunately not going to see potatoes. We are going to see Wizard from Laurie against Echo's... That's CTM, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. This is going to be like a classic match. You should know this match inside and out, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, classic is the word. Let's see if it's set up. Let's see.
Yeah, I am in spectating, so just waiting for you to join.
All right, that's good. We'll get in. No. 'Cause, 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 There we go.
X. Okay, and so no turn one Sensi for Don. Do you think he'll mulligan to try and hit it, or is he happy with that hand?
Let's see. Yeah, I think you want to mull that. That's not a very appealing starting hand. Two
No,
agendas.
no economy, two agendas, and some fairly porous eyes versus Wizard. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Run aside. Look at the
Throws-
shiny Hades shot all art. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So Laurie is interesting. He's the only person who's packed any kind of CI or combo hate in his deck with the single Hades, but he's got no one to use it against, which is really sad.
Yeah, that's quite a pity. Okay, so Echo Mulligan into a slightly better hand, but not by much. No Sensi, no political assets there. That
Yeah.
remotes a Sand City Grid. So, yeah, not.
I mean,
Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was Echo would probably have to worry about turn one medium, just dig out of Wizard, which is not a unreasonable start for Echo to have, but he's just gonna sit and money up, give Don time to find some assets.
Yeah, they both have a rather less than optimal start. Laurie's flooded with hardware. That's the last thing you want to see as any runner. And yeah, Echo just not finding anything at all. I think he's distracting Laurie from running HQ. Not icing HQ, not giving away any sense that he's flooded at all. He kind of is. Yeah. So yeah, now he has double toll booth. Now these toll booths could be rather key in this matchup. Could very well keep Laurie out of the servers. You can see, I believe that's a toll booth that went on server 1.
Yeah, hang on. I just need to rejoin because I'm seeing double of everything, which is pretty. So it looked like Laurie had two peddlers down at the same time. Right, let's see whether we can fix this.
Yep, so Laurie is getting his engine set up. This is very concerning for Echo. One thing that we have now that we didn't have back at Worlds is Aaron Moron. Laurie has that set up, so he's going to be immune to breaking new shenanigans. So that option is out of the question for Echo. So he'll have to try to jam agendas behind that toll booth to win.
Yeah, you have to feel like Echo is in a really awkward situation here. Like his draw has not been ideal. He's not really going to be able to land any meaningful tags on Laurie. So he's just going to be relying on playing a bit of old school Netrunner, I think.
Wow, this looks really old school. This is a build in a remote and it's single advance. He's double advancing it. He's going... Oh, right. No, never mind. He's going off the sand side. I thought he was going for the big 3-point build for a moment.
For the 3-point build, yeah.
Alright, so he can barely defend this sand, which is not too bad. Unfortunately, having the sand up isn't going to do much. He doesn't have anything else to score right now.
And that Aaron with 2 counters on now means that Laurie is just immune to his tricks. Like when you've got Aaron with 0, you might be able to bait some, maybe, but yeah, like you could land a tag off the turnpike or something to. But that's never going to happen now.
Yeah, and Laurie gets the Cipher set up. So this is where the game starts turning in the runner's favor. Cipher just wrecks them hard. Oh man, Paris Cipher. That's 8 credits down the drain right there.
Mm-hmm.
Nasty.
A small price to pay. 3 credits to trash that, but 8 for Don, who's on 1 credit.
Yeah, I should remind everyone that because it is... when you encounter... They both trigger at the same time, right? Toll Booth and Cipher.
Yes.
So...
Yes, Cipher triggers on encounter, and so does Toll Booth. So even though you send it to the bin, you still have to pay the tax.
Yeah. Oh man, that's nasty. Laurie... Yeah, Laurie floats the tag, but that's fine because he does have an Aaron token to use.
Yeah, which I assume he's going to do as soon as Echo clicks for a credit, or does anything which makes it look like he's about to... trash Aaron.
Yep.
Like at this point, he's just styling. The only reason he's not used that token yet is because he knows he's completely safe.
Yeah, I mean, you want to use it after your discard phase, so
yeah,
you can wait for now. Not sure what Laurie's thinking about here. He has no clicks left. He has max 4 hand size, right? Cipher. Cipher actually has a downside. Yeah, it reduces the hand size. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so he is thinking about what to throw.
Surely
Right.
it's the archives interface. I don't
Yeah.
see anything else you
I
would
mean,
cache.
I haven't looked at Echo's list, but I'm not sure whether he's playing friends or not. I mean, I would assume so. CTM without friends seems like a crazy choice, but it's like seeing the fact he's still got the commercial bankers in there. Maybe that he's just playing a classic CTM list.
Yeah, this looks very classic CTM. I guess it's a meta call. Pretty not a very good one, given that Laurie now has slums, in addition, and an archives interface.
Archives interface, yeah.
What's he doing? Is he taking the toll booth out of circulation?
Yeah, that has to be it. Yeah, it is.
Wow. Okay. Whoa. That's nasty.
I think Laurie's just trying to put himself in a position now where that kind of runner inevitability has just taken over the game. He doesn't feel like Don can put him under any meaningful pressure. So rather than have that sense of, I have to keep going, I have to keep pressuring the corp in order to keep myself safe, now just happily sit back, make himself more and more comfortable while Echo struggles to find answers.
Yeah, fair play to Laurie. He's very far ahead right now. In fact, he's so far ahead that the archives interface play was okay. I'm not a big fan of it. I don't think that was necessary. It was almost rubbing the salt in the wound, honestly. I mean, of course, we can see that Echo has a second toll move in hand, so it doesn't matter. But those credits and clicks, the archives interface is expensive. You can spend your time drawing, getting more money. I mean, there's lots, like finding a medium that would basically seal out the game. I guess that was just, I have the space to make this soft play, so I'm still going to win anyway. Echo is very far
only
behind.
assume that Laurie is expecting a friends in high places at some point, and that's why he's taking the toll booth out of circulation.
That is a very fair point. However, after seeing the commercial bankers group, I think I'm inclined to say there's no friends in the deck. Bankers is quite a lot of influence, especially when you're playing out of 12 influence CTM. So I highly doubt so. But we'll see. In the meantime, Laurie does run R&D. No medium out, but that's fine. He's going to get accesses wherever he can get. Just good to know that the scoreline is actually still 2-0 in Echo's favor.
Yeah.
So Laurie still has a ways to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Echo's got to feel slightly bad that really what he's got is a hand with 2 blanks in that. Closed accounts and exchange are probably never going to be playable during this. Oh, he does have friends.
I eat my words. There we go.
I mean, friends is only 1 influence. I mean, I know that CTM traditionally probably only has like 2 or 3 influence to flex around with, but obviously Echo has found the space in there for to cut something and put the friends in its place.
Yeah, fair dues. You notice something interesting Echo's doing here. He's actually leaving a food in hand, a food that he probably would never score. Expecting that medium's going to come sooner or later. He wants to reduce R&D agenda density, so that looks pretty fine. I guess as Echo right now, your main priority is to get money up. Most of your game plan is honestly turned off at this point. You can't. You're way too far in the game to score agendas behind remote safely. Fast advance is pretty difficult when your opponent has remote lock on you. Yeah, this is a pretty bad spot to be in. And oh my gosh, Archives is empty! What is happening here?
Well, that's one way to beat kind of corporate recursion, is just don't leave them anything to recur.
Oh dear. I mean, as much as I'm over dramatizing this, these cards are probably not going to really matter. Losing an extra sweeps week, an exchange that probably won't ever come to play. But yeah, the bigger deal here is that Laurie got a bunch of Temujin runs while at it. He would never do this if he doesn't have a Temujin out. So he's rich. Echo's not. That's where the game is right now.
Yeah, and the problem that Echo is going to have here is that Laurie has so much money. He has a full breaker suite in the bin. So both his Black Orchestra and his MK Ultra are in there. So really the only way that Echo can score is he can score out breaking users from hand. He has one Sansan left, which he can score a 3-2 with. But apart from that, I don't see how he manages to score another agenda in this game.
No. It seems like, yeah, he'll just have to stack a lot of ice on the remote, perhaps, try to score agendas, or draw a lot of money, which also looks very improbable. Oh, there goes the second
There goes the other
Sansan.
Sansan. Right, okay.
Ouch. Ouch. Well,
Yeah, so
that's where we are at now. Yeah, I guess it's just a matter of time at this point for Laurie to steal the agendas.
Yeah. I think that there's definitely there's a complete sense of inevitability here. Echo is just gonna try and put stuff out, but I don't think he's going to be able to meaningfully make any impact on Laurie's money. He's got 8 offshored in his archives, Temujin, 12 on his liberated. So even if he lands a closed accounts here, he's going to be able to recover incredibly quickly.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, the best he can do right now is, as you saw right there, try to steal a bit of tempo here and there. Try to force him to spend 7 credits to trash the Sensi and Mambet tempo. Mambet Virtual Tour. But yeah, the agendas are going to start piling up now as Echo's drawing instead of clicking for credits, which is not wrong. You do want to draw into the cards that will help you, but at the same time, he's drawing agendas as well.
Sure. I mean, that toll booth really is Echo's scoring opportunity. If he can play some never advanced games with, say, a toll booth resistor scoring remote and try and drag Laurie through that as often as he can before he can find a parasite to kill that toll booth, that might be the only way he gets back in this game.
Yes, I agree with you there, 100%. Another possibility is an Archangel. Laurie... Laurie doesn't really have an answer to the Archangel, does he? He could use Cipher and Black. There is a Black Orchestra in the bin, so yeah, he could.
Yes.
And he's doing that right now for the Enigma on HQ. Let's see what he hits here. It's a project build. We've tied up the scores 2 apiece. And now going for archives to get some Temujin money. So yeah, as you said, I do agree. The Toll Booth and Archangel seem to be his slim hopes at clawing back at a victory here. You want to keep them unres and then start jamming stuff behind. Force Laurie to play reactively. So if you have both big code gates on the same server, you can't cipher both of them. So that would be the hope. But we'll see if Laurie has any answers for that. I'm sure he'll draw some soon.
The worry, of course, is that if he invests so much of his protective ice on a scoring remote, you have to wonder how vulnerable his R&D is going to be. Like, there is a clock before Laurie just decides to sink that medium and just go digging through Echo's R&D. And the reason that he's in such a difficult position here, I think, is because he has ice to defend really one server to a reasonable degree, but if he chooses to defend his R&D, he will never be able to score.
That is quite true, yes. I'm actually not sure what Laurie is waiting for here. It does seem like he has all the tools he needs to just plow through R&D. He has the medium, he has parasites available with Deja Vu to demolish all the ice. I think he's just playing it very safe right now. Which is fine, which is, fair play.
I mean, maybe he's... I can't think what he might reasonably be afraid of yet.
Yeah, I don't see it either. The R&D ice is probably not any factor, and he has his entire breaker suite out right now, so he can definitely go for it if he wants to.
And he has 35 credits. Yes, there's the medium. Okay, so, yeah. Oh, well, so... if it's any consolation, I think Don might be able to get to 5 here before Laurie takes all of his agendas.
Yeah, that's a bit of a consolation. You don't really want to score the breaking users as far as possible because that just gives your opponent lots of errant counters to work with. But I think at this point, Echo's just, hold into doing that. There's no way he's going to be able to play the tag game at this point.
No, absolutely not. Though I guess Echo might be hoping to draw Laurie into R&D here, because he's holding 4 agendas. With 4 in his hand,
Now
3
3,
already
because
scored.
he's slipping
Yeah.
one BU in the remote, which Laurie's obviously going to check. The good player he is. Nice try.
Yeah.
And that might backfire. You might think, Echo might be flooded here. We'll
Yeah.
see. Going to draw cards with Aaron. Still not running R&D.
No, it's very conservative by Laurie. I would have expected him just to have ended this game now. Echo's on 7 credits. No matter what those 3 R&D eyes are, I don't think that can be any threat to him.
Indeed. Yeah, but I guess he's just really setting up here. So he wants a turn where he can run, face check
Yeah.
something, bounce out, and then instant Parasitful in the same turn. Fair enough.
Yeah.
As he
Yeah.
Yep, grabs the parasites from the bin. Yep. One last hurrah from Echo here. Get the Jackson out. Probably don't want to recycle too many agendas playing R&D, but it doesn't matter at this point. Ooh, yeah. We'll just have to wait.
Yeah. So what is he going to throw the... No, going to hang on to the GFI. Still more confident that Laurie won't check his hand. I mean, Medium does price runners into this focus on R&D, which can mean that sometimes holding 3 agendas can be the safest place for them.
It sure does, yes. A lot of people don't actually realize that. Sometimes HQ is the safe haven. That said, in this game it doesn't matter because Echo has no viable way of winning with these agendas in hand at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he was unlucky because with the losing the second Sansan, I think, took away his chance for winning this game.
Yeah, that Sansan was one of his few last hopes. It was very unfortunate that it was even sniped before he got a chance to play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so on this screen right here, we notice a very wonderful picture of Mr. Glazebrook right here, looking in the distance, and he's looking at this giant vegetable growing right here, this removed from the game vegetable. It's 13 cards big, and it's swelling by the minute. Man, that's a giant vegetable. Yeah, so York hits the table. Not that it matters.
No. I'm really, I'm just surprised that Laurie isn't like pulling the trigger here. It feels like he's giving Don a chance to get back into the game almost. I mean, I'm not sure what it is that he could conceivably draw, but
I don't see it either. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, this is the time to hit R&D. I'm really not sure what he's digging for at this point. Yeah, the credit lead is so... It's so insurmountable at this point.
Does he just want his second medium? Does he just want to try and end the game in one turn? Is that the approach? I mean, Laurie, I think, has spent about 12 clicks now with that medium installed when in a position to make a series of runs and has chosen not to. He could be like 11 cards deep in that 13-card R&D right now.
Yeah, at this point, he has more Aaron counters than cards left in his deck. He doesn't need to find any more cards. The guy has everything he needs. Double medium's not necessary. I mean, especially because you want the extra free mem for parasites. Well, he goes for HQ, surprisingly. I thought he would be turned into R&D, but there you go. Going for HQ again. Or not. No, he's just going to drop the parasite on the Archangel. So yeah, this is another way to do it. If you know your opponent can't score agendas, they have no good remote, just attack HQ. You don't need mediums because the agendas will clog up in hand sooner or later. I mean,
absolutely.
It's the long way to victory, but it's the safe way to victory. That's the Sensi rules right there.
Yep.
Very cute. Archangel. Probably gonna break this one with York Cipher. Maybe the Black Orchestra if he wants to run HQ again.
There's no reason for him like that. I've had worse in his hand is dead, so there's no point of him not going down to 3 hand size at the end of this turn, so he can cipher twice without a problem.
Yeah, these are first world problems at this point, shall we say? Come on,
Laurie, seriously thinking.
Yeah, I'm very surprised.
I mean, I guess it shows what a good player Laurie is because no matter what the situation is, he's willing to give kind of situations where I would just make the obvious play. He's willing to think deeply about them, and then therefore probably makes better decisions than I do in a normal game of Netrunner.
Yeah, to that point, good players tend to pick the line of play that minimizes the chance of them losing, even if it seems like this game is well in the bag. Like he's just going to do things the safe and sound way, which is check that remote every turn. If there's a new card in there, gotta run it. And there you go. So he's gonna trash the Sensi from the remote, more accurately slums it, bring it to the giant swelling vegetable in the top left corner. And yeah, he's gonna run HQ now, saving the Cipher trigger for destroying Archangel. And
he's on. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh no, it's only 1 in 3 to win here.
And he finds it. Yep, that's the game. There we go. So all in all, a pretty dominating performance by Laurie. Echo did have a shot there in the early game and got the early build going, but yeah, once the slums hit the table, and once all the Temujin money started pouring out, and once the Aaron came, it was just too much for him.
Yeah, I think Echo will have to feel a bit let down by his draw there as well, like from a hand with no assets to mulliganing into a hand with no assets. That's really not what you want to CTM.
That's actually a very good thing to point out. Laurie did not run the first few turns. The assets went uncontested. It just so happened that Echo couldn't do anything with the assets because they were all Sense-Sensitive grids. Nothing he could do with that. So that was just an awful draw by Echo. Very unlucky that he's knocked out in 4th place. A very good player. Today just wasn't his day.
Absolutely. And so now I guess we are going to see Laurie continue and go up against Peter, Motion Blur.
Yep. That is going to happen. Alright, let's bring up the... Alright, 1 second. Let's bring up the leaderboard. Or rather the brackets. There we go. So Echo has been eliminated in 4th place. We are going to our 3rd place match. This is Motion Blur versus Laurie. So I wonder if sides have been decided yet. It will be interesting to see. Yeah. So for viewers out there, we'll be taking a short break while we set up the next game. We'll be right back. Join us then. Alright, hi everyone, we're back live, and we've done our coin flips to determine the sides, and we are going to see a rematch. This is Laurie versus Motion Blur, and we are going to see Wizard versus Potatoes once again. Now, we didn't get to see that the first time because we were streaming the other game, but now we'll get a rematch, we'll get to see it now. Casting this game is Richard, as from last game, as well as our country's champion. It's none other than Chris Dyer. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Ben.
All right, doing
Not
good.
just our country's champion, the world champion.
Aha.
Yeah, I'm not the country's champion. That's Vic.
But we all know you are. All right, so is the game set up? Can we go in?
The game is set up. Yeah, everyone is spectating.
'Alright, I guess we're good to go.
And we're just
all good.
waiting for it to launch.
So I know that Laurie's bought his potential unleashed list along with him today because he thought it was very good against regular wizard. The reason he thinks it's good is he anticipated every drop in their employee strike, and interestingly, Pete is the only person who managed to squeeze one employee strike into his list.
Absolutely.
Oh.
So yeah, Pete. When you look at the differences between the three wizard players, there's actually only 7 cards which are different between all 3 of those lists. So they share 38 identical cards, and they have 7 individual cards. Peter is the only one who bought both Rumour Mill and Employee Strike.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
one of each. That's right.
so it sounds like a very Swiss Army knife deck, not really knowing what to expect from the meta, and this seems like it's going to pay off. Yeah, speaking of all the wizard decks, they all seem to be running stuff like Archives Interface as CI tech, Cipher, Aaron Marin for CTM tech. Now, we are in the game, so I'll pass it over to you two to commentate. Have fun.
Thank you, Ben.
Thanks, Ben. So
And it
Pete
looks-
has the employee strike in his opening hand.
I was
which-
about, and he's mulliganed it away.
Now, that was interesting because he had nothing else in his hand that was playable.
Yeah.
The hand was a really bad hand apart from that one clutch card. So it's going to be interesting to see when he finds that strike again.
Laurie's start looks pretty good. I know he's, having watched his first game, he's a huge fan of the turn 1, click 1 celebrity gift.
Now, this is interesting because he's got a psychic field and a House of Knives. So
Yes. Now, obviously, the just opens such great opportunities for him to go install a remote next turn. Do you want to run it or not? Or put them both down and make you check both.
yeah, so potatoes or potential unleash for people who don't call it potatoes has no intention of scoring out. Its only way to win pretty much is to mill the runner out. Occasionally, you'll manage to flatline them with net damage, but that's all.
Wow. So this is exactly what happened in the first game. Motion blur off a single access on the top of R&D, finds one of the GFIs and nabs it for a quick 2 points. And this is really like what Laurie doesn't want to see.
Yeah, so Hokusai on R&D will slow him down a little bit, but not too much. That Archives interface might help a little bit.
Yeah.
One of Laurie's main plans is to repeatedly recur as many data mines as he can with friends in high places.
Yeah. And he's going to res the Hokusai here, I assume. Yep. I say in the last game, Laurie managed to get Pete down to less than 20 cards in his deck before he started scoring, but then scored 7 points in really quick succession. So I think Laurie's gone.
And that will happen a lot, I think. The way all Laurie can do is really try and hold him off as long as possible. What he's actually trying to do is lure Pete into as many bad decisions as he can, so that when he actually so that by the time he can access agendas, he's got no deck left. But that's not easy.
It's quite a kind of roulette wheel strategy. I've found that with Corpse and Netrunner in general, relying on your opponent to make mistakes is often a really difficult way to play. I mean, obviously, Laurie has built his deck to optimize the number of bad decisions the runner can make, but you can still find yourself in a situation where a good and cautious runner can just patiently wait you out.
Yeah, now Arc Lockdown has got rid of a Black Orchestra, which is relevant because that DNA tracker is much more of a problem against for Pete than it would be otherwise.
Yeah,
I'm surprised Laurie hasn't tried to score this House of Knives yet. That's the only thing that I would maybe expect him to do.
Interestingly, that Black Orchestra is in fact Pete's only answer to the DNA tracker. The only other codebreaker and decryptor that he's got is a Yogg. So
he's got Cipher as well as his other out.
Yes.
Reducing hand size isn't ideal.
And so down to 20 cards. There's
this has actually been quite a quick start from Laurie. It doesn't look like it 'cause he hasn't done anything, but he's already gone through a lot of cards from Pete's deck, so he's actually in quite a good place as long as he doesn't bleed too many points from R&D.
Yeah. It's very much a kind of repeat of what we saw in game 1, and I wonder whether Pete having not had maybe a lot of experience with this game, saw what happened in the first game and is trying to repeat that aggressive approach without realizing how close Laurie was to locking him out entirely in the last game.
Yeah, so Pete has now removed a data mine from the game, which is a pretty good line if he can get rid of the other as well, because that's damage that the only way around that for him is to parasite them instantly. Otherwise, he's taking effectively 2 net damage every time. So if he can get rid of those, that will help him long term. I would quite like to see Laurie jam a House of Knives behind a Lotus Field at some point.
Yeah. Or maybe just go install Psychic Field, Philotic, House of Knives.
Yeah, he'd really probably like one more damage card before he does that. I think he'd like to do something like, even if it's something like Shock, Philotic, and Shock, Psychic Field, and House of Knives.
Yeah. So maybe Laurie money's up here, installs the Lotus Field, and kind of tries to score something next turn. Oh, no, he's just jammed the Psychic Field down. Interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting. The one thing is, Laurie hasn't really established a pattern yet, because a lot of this sort of game is kind of reading how the court plays, what they put out, and because he hasn't established that pattern, Pete straight away bites on the Psychic Field because he's got to check these remotes. Yeah. He doesn't know how Laurie's playing it.
That's bad news for Pete. So what's he lost here? Like, his Yogg is in the bin, so there's
a second arc lockdown there as well.
Yeah. I think Laurie can conceivably just lock Pete out of this game very quickly now. Like, arc lockdown for Yogg or he can just...
The biggest danger is actually that he hasn't got enough credits to defend all of this. But Pete is very low on cards already, so he's got 14 cards between him. This DNA tracker is going to be...
He's about to take 6 of them.
Yeah. This game may well be over.
Yeah. I think Pete saw how well an aggressive strategy worked in the last game, and it might have lulled him into a false sense of security here. And Laurie has just needled him to death.
Yeah, he's taken a very aggressive line. And there's several ways of playing against potatoes, but either you're trying to get accesses early, which is a very swingy strategy because it depends on where the cards are, and there's that employee strike. So that employee strike has come up 6 cards from the bottom.
Yeah, the power of the mulligan obviously denied hit for him for the entire game. I mean, it seems like maybe a turn 1 employee strike might not be the worst choice, even if the rest of your hand is garbage.
So. Yeah, this is kind of a classic Jinteki kind of analysis of your hand. So against a deck like this, or PE or something like that, about 30 cards in your deck are utterly useless and are literally there just to serve as damage.
Yeah.
And I think maybe he looked at his hand and said, "There's 5 cards here. Only one of them's good. Therefore, it's a mulligan." I think this might just be hindsight. It's much easier to say in hindsight, obviously, but
sure.
I think you look at it and go, "I've got the one crucial card I need. I don't need anything else. What other cards do I need early game?" And then just kind of set about just carefully dismantling the deck piece by piece. And that's really not. It's the opposite strategy of what he went for.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that Laurie's playing Enforced Curfew specifically just to blow that card up should give you an indication of how critical it is in these matches.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think, it's going to take something of a miracle here for Pete to pull this one back. I mean,
it's not impossible. While this strike is out, if he can get, there's 2 agendas in hand. If he can find those agendas, he needs 1 lucky access, which he can take. So it's not over. Mind you, having said that, these Lotus Fields may well lock everything else very, very, very shortly.
Yeah. And this is a very kind of, I was going to say, this is a very brave celebrity gift by Laurie here. Like, holding 2 agendas and showing his entire hand to Pete must mean that whatever he's got face down there is going to just end this game.
He must be confident that the ice effectively renders showing Pete's HQ meaningless.
Yeah.
Yeah, for those of you keeping track at home, there is a Lotus Field in HQ.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
So yeah, Pete with 4 cards left means that realistically the fetals are mostly off the table now. So Laurie's agenda density just got much lower.
Snare is very bad news from as well. And then we
Yep.
haven't seen any snares go through yet. So yeah, big problems all around. And this is the right move though. He's got to try and get his accesses where he can and keep the money is relevant. But this game would have been very different had he managed to get a cipher on the table.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think Laurie's worried about a levy? I mean, it's definitely not standard.
I don't think I would play around it. I don't think I'd even consider it. And the influence in this deck is so tight already that
Sure.
I don't think you factor it into your play at all.
Oh, and in fact, he can see probably the majority of Pete's influence just by looking through the cards he's milled away.
Yeah. His larger heap.
So yeah, I think Laurie's just gonna do very much like he did in the last game. He's found himself in a commanding position. Now he doesn't need to take any risks. He can win this game like a number of ways, including just scoring out behind a remote that Pete can never get into.
Yeah, and Laurie's very good at this sort of line of play. He's very good at working out how he can and can't lose it, and when he needs to, he'll take a very safe line. You can probably just install this snare because I think he's got to run it. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's not the snare. That's a different card.
That's the House of Knives. But if he scores the House of Knives, that's game.
Yeah.
So Pete doing what he needed to do, which is put all of those cards in his hand, increasing his life to 5 from like 3.
Yeah, I think what he's probably trying to do is time his way through this DNA tracker.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to happen because Laurie will purge rather than letting it die. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And this is where this comes back to this point about the cipher. Had cipher been down, he would have been able to get his accesses, but he's only actually had about 4 or 5 accesses on centrals, which isn't enough to win the game.
Yeah. Oh, and it looks like so Pete going for glory here. He's just going to take the damage and try and get 1 steal.
Yeah, this doesn't work.
Yeah, he knows that it's over now. And in fact, Laurie can just install this fetal naked.
Yeah, yes, he can. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
That's
so
fair.
An over-aggressive start for Pete. Just lost too many of his resources too quickly in that game, I think.
Yeah, and I think possibly an over-aggressive start that wasn't supported by the hand he had.
Yeah. So, Laurie advancing to grand finals to play 2 games against Dan.
Yep, that seems to be the case. Yes, so congratulations, Laurie, and commiserations to Motion Blur. Very good performance there, just came up short. Yeah, that it was quite a show put on by Potatoes. All the data mines, all the Hokusai grids, goodness me, they just didn't stop coming.
Yeah, and it's worth pointing out, Laurie drew a great hand. He drew all his kind of incremental damage very early, and that's why he managed to strip so much out of the deck so quickly.
Yeah, so that was a very good performance, very good play by Laurie, and yeah, thanks Rich for coming on to commentate.
No problem, thank you for having me on again. And good luck to the guys in the finals.
Yes, we now have our finals. Let's take a look at the bracket. Here we go. So with Echo and Motion Blur eliminated, we are down to the grand finals. This is Dan Strong Goose Ouroboros, who needs to only win 1 more of the 2 upcoming games to win the whole thing, up against Laurie, who is coming from the losers bracket losers bracket. So yep, Chris will be doing the commentary along with myself, and we are gonna get into the grand finals shortly. All right, welcome back. We have our finals here. We are going to go into the first game where Laurie will play his potatoes against Dan's wizard deck, it seems. So apparently, I've read from chat, this is apparently the battle of the burbs. Both mongoose runners going up against each other. So appropriate.
Polter versus Strong Goose.
Yes, strong goose versus bird goose. All right, everyone rooting for their teams. That we have support from both sides. Team Laurie, Team Strong Goose, maybe. Okay, yeah. So this is gonna be quite a hyped up finals. Laurie looking to win every single tournament he can win, and then taking revenge for his less than stunning performance from last time.
Yeah, Laurie loves a online tournament. It's his format, his record on online tournaments is really, really strong.
It's phenomenal. Yeah, JNet is his abode, more so than Brighton now, it seems. I guess they're deciding on sites now.
Yep, so Laurie will run by the look of it.
Right, so this deck is rather standard Temujin Aaron Wizard runner deck. And for Dan, what do we have? We have, is that...
A kind of classic Polana.
Yeah, Polana. Doing pretty well today. People are neglecting the rumor mills for the most part, so...
So one rumor mill in between all the other free runner decks, and all three wizard decks have one rumor mill between them.
Yeah, but that's it. Wizard...
Yeah.
This kind of regular wizard deck, Parasitha wizard deck, it doesn't really need...
No, exactly.
Yeah, you can just destroy all the ice and win the side games anyway. So, very good start for Dan here. This is an instant keep.
Great hand for Dan.
Ever seen one, yeah. Can't ask for much more. What about Laurie's side? This is interesting.
I think Laurie's is probably a mulligan. I think. You can play it. It's not the worst hand I've seen, but you really want an early Temujin in this matchup because you're going to struggle to unload them later in the game.
Yeah, economy and perhaps draw is also pretty important. Laurie chose to keep this hand.
He's kept it, and that's understandable. So one point about this hand, he's got both Siffer and Yogg, and that renders DNA trackers toothless, which is quite a big part of this matchup.
Oh yes, that's a very good advantage of starting with this opening hand. I can see that. It is a very expensive rig to build up though. Spending 10 credits all at once for it, but I'm sure it'll pay off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alright, so Dan's just drawing a whole bunch of money right now. That's an amazing hand. If I were him, I'll just keep drawing, try to find my agendas. You want to close out this matchup early. Even though Laurie doesn't run Levy in his deck, you can't get to the point where he can recur Parasites over with Siffer.
Yep, and if he can assemble an efficient rig, then he can easily run through a remote 3 or 4 times at a turn, which is kind of what Polano relies on you not being able to do.
Yep.
The only problem is Dan's gone down to 3 cards in hand, and when he has a celebrity gift, arguably I'd have liked to see him draw up to be able to fire off the gift before getting rid of the restructure.
Yeah, I agree. I would have tried to play the gift first before playing the restructure. You do actually need your money in this matchup, even though there are no siphons or vamps. Every credit counts, especially when you're so reliant on side games. So yeah, I agree with you. I would have tried to draw up there. Maybe do something like play Jackson, play the ice, and have Jackson behind the ice so you can draw more efficiently. I think...
Yeah, that also accelerates your game plan as well, so that would help a lot, I think.
Yeah, Jackson actually does accelerate this quite a lot. Hades Shah going in the bin. Not doing anything today. Dan, so close to playing CI, but nope, chose not to.
Yeah, so two known CIs in the cut in this final, and neither of them went for it. So a missed meta-call by Laurie, partly that I told him to put in. So it's quite my
Well, great that we have you for meta calls. Sometimes you hit them, sometimes you don't. Alright, Laurie's setting up pretty nicely here. Admittedly, Dan isn't putting that much pressure on Laurie, so he gets...
So if you're Dan, do you go for a score here? I think I probably would.
Surely you do. Laurie's not showing any breakers, this is a good time too. What do you think of Z 2.0? Look at that thing.
I was astonished when I saw it in the list. So it's anti-Siffer tech, I guess.
It's brilliant.
I just don't see it firing very often.
No. Unfortunately, once Siffer comes on the table with a Mimic or MK Ultra, that's not going to fire. But yeah, that can very well catch Laurie off by surprise. I don't think he's seen this Piranha deck yet, much less the Z 2.0. So that could be a nasty surprise if you're expecting to click through an Ichi, but instead have to make the horrible decision of clicking through and getting one hardware trash or getting 2 brain damage. That's not a good decision to make.
And Dan's deck is actually sneakily optimized for regular wizard in a lot of ways. So it's got Lotus Fields, it's got a Macrophage, I believe, and it's got this Z. So he's got a lot of kind of unusual choices that you wouldn't have seen a while ago in a Piranha deck, if you saw one at all.
Yes, and even Friends in High Places, which recurs the ice after they have been parasified. So that's pretty good tech. I love it.
Yep.
But as you said, I think this is the time to score, and no better agenda to score than a Nisei. I think I would have gone for a score this turn.
I'd have definitely gone 2 turns ago. I'm sure I'd have gone this turn as well. So he can go next turn now. Obviously, he wanted that second ice. He doesn't know what Laurie's hand is. The problem is, the longer you give this kind of wizard deck, they're just going to assemble Parasite and Cipher, and it's really hard to do anything at that point.
Yeah, so now this gives Laurie the chance to run HQ, and that Nisei becomes vulnerable. If he gets it stolen, this is going to be huge for Laurie.
Yeah, it'll be killer.
Now, on the other hand, I think Laurie has a Parasite on the Peddler, which is why you saw him install Cipher right before running HQ. But he has to think twice. Does he really want to use a Parasite on the Vanilla? The answer is yes, he goes for it.
He does.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I guess you have to do what you've got to do, but he had a paperclip on the same Peddler. I guess he really didn't want to do that.
Yeah, so he's got the 2 Batties, which would have been good were there not 2 Friends in High Places in the same HQ.
Yeah, let's see if he can get the Nisei. This run is going to be key. This Nisei is make or break at this point.
Yeah, if he gets this. Oh.
Rough.
That's put Dan back so far.
So far. He needs to top deck it right now. Oh, man. That's uncanny. Wow.
That's top net strategy right there.
Dan almost doesn't deserve this. I'll just put it out there. But he finds it, and he knows what he's going to do with it. So there we go. And, Friends in High Places. We're getting both Batties back. Perhaps some ice.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, 2 Batties.
Yeah.
So the interesting point is Batty is not so good against Paracipher potentially, because if they get rid of your ice, you're kind of not able to fire any relevant subroutines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guess what you're really looking for is firing a Batty subroutine, something like a Trash a Program, Trash 1 hardware even. Remember, you can fire Batty to Z. That would be huge. We'll see if that happens. DNA Tracker into Caprice Nisei. That's sweet. So
This is going to be painful DNA tracker.
it is. Everything in Laurie's hand is good. It's gonna hit the York, the Parasite. Oh my gosh, all the good cards. Wow.
Yeah, left the one he cares about least. And this is a direct result of him not of him using his Parasite on that Vanilla.
Yes, going back to that, that's why we were quite iffy on wasting a Parasite on a Vanilla. That definitely came back to haunt him. Granted, I think he should have played the York before running there. I don't see any reason not to.
No, especially when you've got a Cipher on the table.
Yeah, I think so. That
It's really the only ice that you're that worried about, and anything else you don't mind that you don't mind running into.
Yeah, so yeah, that was a bit questionable, but well, that gives Dan the room he needs to actually score this Nisei. Or so seems. Yep. Yeah, Laurie has to give that up, and he throws a bunch of useless cards.
Yeah, so this is interesting though, because Laurie's next move is almost certainly Temp Gen HQ, run HQ 3 times, and Dan's just drawn another agenda, which he can't do. He thinks he can do something about it.
Interesting.
So,
yeah. Okay. So Vanilla goes back on HQ. So that blocks the Temujin. Oh, that's actually a very nice play. Unfortunately, Paperclip's in the bin. So Laurie can still go for this.
Yeah, and I think that's almost a tell as well. So if Laurie's thinking about it, he knows that's probably a Nisei, because Dan only advanced it once the first turn. He's got to think there's a reason that instead of scoring that straight away while it's safe, Dan has gone for this kind of more careful play.
Yeah, but seems
Laurie's
like
not
he
gonna,
did not pick up on that
it's
tell.
going to work. He's not. Yeah, he's not going to take it.
Yeah. So, well, good for Dan. He's going to get it off. And is he going to jam the sales team in there? A bit dangerous now. He's dangerously low on credits. No, he doesn't. Yeah, this leaves him quite open to a Temujin on HQ. I can definitely see that coming now. I mean, especially...
I think it should.
Yeah, no, like, Laurie does know that that's a vanilla.
He knows it's vanilla. He knows he can break it for virtually no cost. He's got a dirty laundry as well.
Yep. Yeah, alright, so, one interesting thing is with Yonk in the bin, that's actually a very key card in this matchup. I'm not sure if Laurie has a plan for getting the Yonk back. Does he have a second Yonk or something? One should hope
He
that
does have...
He does?
Ooh, I think he does. I think so.
Alright.
He's got the much maligned Black Orchestra instead, if necessary.
Yeah, I would think so. Black Orchestra works just fine. You really don't want to use that against DNA Tracker. So, I guess he might behold into using a combination of Black Orchestra and Parasite Recursion for the rest of the game, which is fine. He's going to get this agenda, so he's going to be up 4-2, which is decent, or not. He has hit the Komainu twice right now. Oh, okay, he finds it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so justice is done.
Yeah, like that. If Laurie missed it all 3 times, man, Dan is on a hot streak today. So another thing to note, Aaron has been on the table since ages ago. Now it has 4 counters, so Laurie should basically have his entire rig at his disposal right now. All he needs is enough money to set it up.
Well, he's got the rest of his deck. It depends what he's got left in his deck.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. He's only got 13 cards left in his deck, in his stack. So he is going to run. He's running out of options already. At some point, he's got to try and build something that's sustainable, and it's got to be sustainable through Batty.
That's a very good point. Yeah, Batty is going to be a big concern, especially since Dan has drawn his Sneaky Snake. That's going to be something to be worried about. Here comes the Parasither on the DNA Tracker.
Yeah.
Is this the time to find Batty Z 2.0? Is it a Z 2.0 on the remote? One should only hope so. Yeah, ooh, it's an itchy.
Oh, it's itchy.
Ooh, this is going to be nasty. Here we go. Side games.
So Dan is just looking to trash the Parasite here. He's just looking to save his DNA Tracker.
And save it he does. Yep. So he fires a Trash 1 program. That would have been really interesting if it were Z 2.0. He could trash the Cipher instead. Yeah,
it would have been much better for him. Now we know Laurie must be running out of parasites because a few have gone by. At least one of the Deja Vus has gone. So there's a much higher chance of this DNA Tracker sticking now.
Yes, with Yonk out of the equation and all 3 parasites in the bin, this is look like Laurie needs to find some way to close out this game.
So Dan is very poor. One option he has is just to start medium digging.
Yep. Yeah, but Laurie has no more clicks left. That run actually cost him quite a bit. Spent 3 clicks because of the Ichi. He doesn't have any solution for that, and he doesn't achieve what he needed to do, which was to kill the DNA Tracker. So it's still quite a net win.
So that's a bizarre choice by Laurie. So he's just let the Itchy trace go off.
No,
and he's taken a brain damage.
I don't think that's what he intended to do. With 16 credits, no way that's what he intended to do. I'm pretty sure he would pay the trace off. Uh-oh.
I'm mystified. I can't. So it seems like he's happy that it's gone off. I think he's done that deliberately, and I have no idea why.
He's going through the DNA Tracker. What is this? What is this? Okay, I guess he's trying to. Yeah.
Wow, this is so aggressive.
I don't know about that. I would really conserve my money for this matchup.
Yeah. So he's not going to gain much because I think Dan probably uses a Nisei token to save the Caprice if he loses the side game anyway.
Sure.
Laurie can't keep running this remote now. This is crazy.
I think he knows his deck list. Perhaps he realizes he has no solution to the DNA Trackers now that he carelessly put all 3 parasites and Yonk in the bin. Maybe.
Yeah.
But
I'm just so surprised he took the brain damage among other things.
Yeah, and apparently between the brain damage and the 3 net, both Temujins were hit. So his economy is now crippled. Whew. This could be a
Just
I'm not sure about this.
I would love to ask him afterwards what he was trying to achieve.
I would like to know too. From this point of view, it has got to be a misplay. There's no reason to take the itchy trace at the very least, and the DNA tracker, I'm not so sure either. Apparently, Laurie's off to ask his wife about the side bit, since like it's a key one, and his wife is wrong.
I think zero's the right bit from Laurie's point of view there. Dan is really low on money, so keeping him low is worth the bid.
Yeah, I will agree with that. I think Laurie's line of play now is just drop medium and try.
It has to be, right? Yep.
But yeah, because Dan is not in DNA range now, so that's what you've got to do. Unfortunately, I have a very sinking feeling that Z 2.0 is on R&D, and Dan is in range of that. Oh, he does have the deja vu. Okay, I don't get this at all. He does have a deja vu for getting a York back. There was no reason to run that remote and lose so much money and net damage.
Crazy, right? So I think running it the first time was right because it's kind of the classic Dumblefork tactic where you just burn down whatever they've got on the remote and make sure they can't do anything with that remote. But I don't see what he was trying to do the second time. So once the Batty fired the Itchy, why keep going?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that either. Now, what about this play?
So
he
he-
used Deja Vu to retrieve 2 parasites instead of the York. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's probably right because he needs this remote gone because otherwise Dan's scoring strategy is too strong at this point.
Fair enough. Yeah, I was thinking that he could possibly control the remote with a combination of Mimic, Cipher, and York. But yeah, now that he has lost so much money, I guess destroying the remote while you can right now is probably the best shot, especially with the Nisei token in play.
Yeah, and that's 13 credits that Dan had invested in that remote, and he's not rich anyway, and he's going to need quite a bit more to defend it and to score agendas in that remote. So if Laurie can get rid of the DNA tracker and then the Caprice as well, Dan suddenly goes a long way from winning. The only problem is Laurie hasn't really got much. Like you said, he's trashed his economy, so whether he'll be able to sustain central pressure to get enough points before Dan can rebuild is questionable.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now using friends in high places for Betty has got to be a consideration for Dan right now. As poor as he is, he knows that the remote is going to bits and pieces next turn. He knows that there's a parasite in Laurie's hand. I think you do consider the snack into Betty remote here. I'm not sure if he has enough money to put it off, but that is a consideration, I think.
He does. It will break him, but he can effectively pay 2 for the friends, take a credit. We'll give him 9 credits, which is enough to res it and play a fair side game. So,
Yeah, he could do that. Yeah, I think that wouldn't be a bad play at all.
he must know that if this Mimic goes, then Laurie's really short on options to get in that remote ever again.
Killing the Mimic would be huge because if he uses Snack, the Cobra for it, he gets another 2 net damage, he gets another program trash. So
Yep.
that kills the Parasite as well. So that is something that I think he's trying to math out and see whether he can achieve, whether he can play a reasonable side game.
I think you can. I don't think you do it this turn, and the reason is because if you do that, then Laurie's reaction is probably just to hit R&D repeatedly, and then you won't be able to defend it.
But do you give up the DNA tracker? Because you know the Parasite is coming next turn.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it's quite a tough position for Dan to be in. This is actually quite key. He goes for the Jackson instead. Interesting. And he draws a Quandary. That Quandary might be the one thing that saves him here. Oddly enough. There's no Block Orchestra. Did I say Block Orchestra? Black Orchestra in the bin.
He's got to install the Quandary, right?
I
In
don't
front
see
of the
any other...
DNA tracker.
No, yeah, I don't see any other version
Yeah.
of him doing
Yeah,
anything else.
that's good play.
Yep.
That's really good play.
Agreed. Yeah, that's good. And he does draw the hedge fund as well, so yeah, he can salvage his economy from here. Pretty good.
Yeah, as long as he gets through this turn. So Laurie really has to look for some accesses now because he hasn't got many cars left. He hasn't got much of a rig. At some point, Dan is going to shut him out.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have looked to run R&D more aggressively a couple turns ago as Laurie when Dan
Yeah, me
wasn't
too.
in DNA range. Yeah, now he's running HQ to get the money, Temujin money.
Yeah,
which
this is good.
fair. Yep. Yeah, I think there's no point. Yeah, Dan doesn't rest the outer ice. So this is just really, yeah, it's sort of taxing for Laurie. 1 credit per run. Actually matters quite a lot here when Laurie has all his money in the bin. So
That's right. One thing that's interesting, Laurie's still got 2 tokens on Aaron. Now, what's he saving those for?
silence. I have no idea. There's no reason to keep them, I don't think. Yeah, as I said earlier, with the Aaron tokens, he can dig through most of his deck to find anything and everything he needs. There's no reason not to use them. Yeah.
And he really needs those cards because he needs an answer to code gates at some point.
Sure, yeah, I agree with that. Is this the time to play Cobra on server 1 and perhaps stick a Batty there? Ooh, okay, maybe. Friends is coming. Itchy goes on the remote and the Batty. Nice.
Yeah.
That works as well.
So this remote is now really, really secure.
It is.
Only 6 credits though.
That is a problem. Yeah, I guess that's one reason why Laurie's holding back his Aaron. He knows that he's up against Polana, and that gives Dan some credits. But yeah.
So Laurie really hammering HQ here. He must know it's clean.
He's just seeing
I know he's seen the snake over and over again, but I don't think you anticipate there being much in there. Now he knows.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Like R&D was just as fair a hit as well, considering that DNA tracker's not live. I'm not sure about that. So yeah, I think the main priority for Dan here is to get 10 credits right now, so he can play the restructure. Then he can think about the sales team. Double to restructure. Ouch. Yeah, that's gonna take some time. Interesting. Trashing the sales team.
Yeah, so what's happened there? Laurie spooked him because Laurie ran HQ so many times that Dan figures he can't risk keeping it in hand, which I think is fair.
Spoopy.
And again, yeah, as you can see, Laurie's going to run it again.
But I don't. Honestly, I don't understand the HQ runs.
No, I don't.
Yeah, your odds are so slim, and I mean, if you're gaining tempo, something like Obellas, something like Data Sucker, sure, he's not gaining anything.
What's happened here is that this Batty on R&D has spooked Laurie so thoroughly that he's just not willing to risk the run on R&D because he thinks it could be game over.
That sounds like a play you would make, Chris, being very overly conservative and playing safely. No offense.
You didn't have a Batty, Ben.
Fair enough. But yeah, I think sometimes you have to put your limb out there. R&D, I mean, even from the spectator's point of view, testing the waters is definitely something worth doing. Did you see what went in the remote?
I didn't. It must be. I didn't see an agenda. Oh, do you trust Jackson? Yeah, it must be an agenda. So maybe it's Philotic.
Yeah, that's quite possible. And Laurie's out of cards.
Philotic will be devastating right now, actually.
It would. But you don't score it right now. You have 2 restructures to play and a friends.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much work this Polana deck is doing.
Yeah, it's been really solid. So this is the sort of deck that is fine, apart from the fact that Rumour Mill crushes it and people stop playing it out of fear of Rumour Mill. And Dan's made a pretty brave choice to play it today, and a pretty informed choice as well, on the belief that nobody would be playing Rumour Mill, which he was basically right about.
Yeah,
and if they're not, the deck is still good. This deck is fine.
Yeah, that's a very sharp meta call. Gotta give Dan credit for that. It is actually doing work. I mean, personally, I expected that Parasither Wizard had a fair game against Polana. As we discussed earlier, with all the ice destruction, it's not easy to set up a scoring remote, but Dan's doing it. Friends is making.
Agreed, and I think Dan was definitely behind early as well.
He was, yes. Yeah, the questionable runs on the remote kind of swung things in Dan's favor, I must say.
Yeah, and I'm going to keep coming back to it. That early Parasite on Vanilla, I think, is such a big moment in this game. Yeah,
it just shows you how powerful Clone Chip and Parasite is when put in the same deck. Because the ability to instant Parasite ice is just unparalleled. The ability to take care of any ice, regardless of whether it's small or big. And yeah, one small play there leading to one big face check later that cost Laurie a lot of tempo. Dan goes
Right,
for
Laurie-
Perch because the Parasite was ticking up, which is very fair play. At this point, Dan is playing for the long game, knowing that Laurie has very few options remaining. And looking at Laurie's hand, he really has no options. That's why I
Yeah,
go
and-
back to question the Deja Vu on double Parasite. I feel like he could have played for the long game by using Deja Vu on Yogg instead. That would have gave him entry into Silver 1, regardless.
I think that's definitely fair. Yeah.
Yeah, but
The problem is,
yeah.
it will only let him only let him to the server 1 once per turn because Sifra and Yogg is reduced to once per turn, and he probably can't. He probably can't score in that circumstance because Caprice and Nisse takers will keep him out.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Fair enough. Yeah, and at this point, Black Orchestra is still a consideration. He still has his decoder available in the bin, but it's so inefficient that Laurie is probably not even thinking of doing it. Oh no, I take that back. He's going for it.
He will because Sifra will let him kill this DNA tracker.
Yep, that's a good point, but only if he wins the side game. He's going to fire the
Yeah.
battle on the Ichi. This is going to be huge. Also worth noting that if somehow Laurie wins the side game, Dan still has the option of using the Nisei token to stop him from killing the DNA tracker. I don't think he will. I think that's not the best play, but it's something he could do.
Yeah, if this was another Nisei in the remote, you consider it, but it's a GFI, so I don't think it's worth it.
Exactly.
This remote is still pretty itchy into Quandary. It's still pretty unpleasant for Laurie anyway, and I think that is probably game.
I
That
think so
lost
too.
side game for Laurie.
Yeah, he's just gonna kill the Parasite. Yep, there's no good way through DNA tracker right now. I think at this point, Laurie goes for the juggler and just goes for Black Orchestra and tries to deal with the DNA tracker. That's
I
so
can't.
expensive.
Yeah, I'm trying to work out how much it costs.
12.
It's upsetting high. Yeah,
9 to break and 3 to install. So it
yeah. And another 3 for the Quandary.
Yeah. 3 credits for Quandary. Dear oh dear.
I know.
It hurts.
That's more than half his money, and then he has to play a side game. And if he wins it, Dan will end the run anyway.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, maybe you don't after all. Yeah, another thing, interesting thing is he's been trashing out his mediums. Like, there were lots of points in the game where I felt like I would have played medium if I were in Laurie's shoes.
Yeah, so it's worth pointing out Dan's on 12 credits, but he hasn't raised any R&D ice, so his money hasn't actually been that high. And if you put a bit more pressure, maybe you can stop this remote kind of this going through quite so early. As it is, Dan hasn't had to res that ice, and it means.
Yeah, I agree with you there. It's a bit, as Wizard playing Parasite, what you always want to do is to try to force ice reses so that you have more targets for your Parasites. And yeah, there's just no R&D pressure at all. Again, back to what you said earlier. Seems like the Batty just scared him into oblivion. And now he's just going to focus on the remote when he knows that the Batty doesn't recite. Using Cipher to drop the DNA tracker down, so it's actually not as expensive as I mentioned earlier. Alright, so I think we have a disconnection from Chris. Oops. Yeah, seems like that's the case. Oh well, I guess I'll have to carry on. That's fine. Yep, it seems like the internet went out in Exeter. That's a big problem, but we'll deal with it. So, what happened? Laurie lost the side game, unsurprisingly, and the food is scored. So at this point, it is more or less over. I'm very surprised Laurie's still taking the Ichi fires. It's just 1 credit. Surely you pay the 1 credit. He chooses not to. So yeah, at this point, Dan is just gonna play slow and steady, wins the race. There's virtually no way Laurie's gonna be able to siege this remote between the Caprice and the Nisei token. Laurie's only out here is in HQ. He probably will check archives at some point. Not gonna find anything. Yeah, so he could go for R&D, and that's what he's doing now. Yep. Swifty, you there?
No, but I am.
Oh, okay. Hi, Rich.
Hello.
And hi. Okay.
And Dave's here as well. We can all talk
Yep,
about
we're here.
Yes, we can have a big party. So, thoughts on this game so far as Laurie runs R&D?
I have no idea what Laurie's doing. I don't really get the itchy fires. That's a bit confusing. I mean, unsurprisingly, Chris and yourself have been quite on point with the game, really.
Yeah.
I
So
thought you two were good now.
yeah, I have a conspiracy theory here. What if the person playing isn't Laurie? Maybe that's Laurie's wife. Dum dum dum.
Now, I was surprised that Laurie elected to get the double parasite instead of the Yogg. I understand the reasoning behind it because it lets him clear that remote out, but he's already seen Dan play Friends, and killing his DNA trackers is a short-term solution, whereas Yogg Cipher gets him through DNA trackers pretty much on demand.
I have to agree. Yes.
Yeah, go for the long-term answer rather than the short-term.
Like there were good arguments to run to doing the double parasite, but if he went for that route, I think he would have to pummel R&D a lot more. He needed to close out the game quicker before Dan could get set up. But
While we've been talking, Laurie has a chance of stealing this game.
yeah, this is actually rather harrowing. Dan is not resing. Oh.
Oh.
Well, at least he can still sit for it and then get through.
I'm surprised he didn't res it earlier.
Yeah.
Why was he holding back?
Well, maybe because he'd go down to very few credits. I mean, he's down to 1. And he's sitting there with a restructure and a hedge in hand.
Ah, fair enough. Yeah, that makes sense. So, yeah, he's gonna use the Nisei token.
I think I would have done as well.
Just lose it.
Yeah, no.
I mean,
yeah, I agree.
Aaron's sitting there with 4 counts on it, though. Should have been used a bit earlier.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the Aaron isn't doing much. Dan is just gonna play the long game here. So as long as he doesn't draw agendas, he'll be fine.
Yeah.
He can use Friends to recur Batty, which kind of works like his say token. Unfortunately, now he puts himself far away from hedge fund and restructure. That'll take a couple of turns.
Just take the credits, then discard the macrophage, or I guess not. Then
Yeah.
Why? Yeah, why would you keep the macrophage? That's a strange choice. Though Laurie has cunningly turned off Dan's ID by having no cards in his deck or hand.
Ha ha ha.
that is probably
Gotcha.
right there. That is, yeah.
Oh man, if Laurie top decks this one, that would be so amazing.
See, if I was playing against the other Aldershot player, Dave Sayre, he would have trashed Aaron in that turn because he is just so spiteful.
I'm sure he would too if that was Rotouch on the other side. Rotouch.
Yeah.
Alright, one access.
I was going to say, these are the moments which make Netrunner so tense and so much fun.
Is it going to be the Philotic? The magic Philotic?
Well, there's only about 9 agendas in the deck, so
4 left.
is it 5 out?
4 left. There is a 1 in 5 chance. 20%. Here goes. Don't hold your breath. It seems like both players have resigned.
That's it. They're just having a nice chat now.
Shit.
Oh.
You? No? No.
No. It's fine. Okay.
It's Friends. Friends is back.
Okay.
Marcus. Yeah, okay, that Marcus Betty kind of does it. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so now
Can't
he's got
run anywhere now, can he?
He's got side games to win the game everywhere apart from HQ.
Surely you run archives after taking a bunch of credits.
Because there's because I don't believe Dan's running Future Perfect or
He's not.
Peaceful AI, so he can just steal the agenda when if he finds it.
Yes.
Yeah, but he's also got Batty side games for 1 net damage and 2 credits off both of those DNI trackers, which is game over for Laurie.
Yes, he can't.
Well, he'll just have to get good at side games.
Yeah, you have to get. Yeah, your the Batties on both servers just cut his win rate by a third. I mean, 2/3. Yeah.
Yeah.
But well, who knows? Laurie has been losing most of the side games this game. I think he's due for a win.
I mean, there are still some cards face down in archives. Those aren't relevant, are they?
I don't know. I've not been watching what he was discarding, but I don't think they're relevant. I think Dan shuffled back the 1 sales team that he discarded.
I think so too. So yeah, I would consider running archives if I were Laurie, but otherwise, yeah, he's just gonna take 4 credits every turn until he finds a good time to strike.
I mean, if there was an agenda, he could friends it back with a Batty in there.
Yeah,
Would
that's
that
a
be
very good
about
point. Yes.
just leaving it there?
Yeah, true that. So yeah, it all comes down to side games really, and this game is more harrowing than it really should be because Laurie's
Yeah.
on match point when he arguably shouldn't be. It looks like Chris is back. Can either of you invite Chris on the Skype call?
I can try. Hang on.
All right. So yeah, for the viewer, not much going on. Everyone's clicking for credits. I'm sure Dan will be trying to take a couple of credits soon. Sooner or later, he's just gonna draw the agenda to try to score.
Well, I mean, the Wayland in me really wants a flatline at some point during this.
What a sweet way to end the day, huh? We'll
Oh,
see
yeah.
if he gets that.
Yeah, it's always great. Burning Wizard, it's game over for him.
And then taking the super safe route, going for a Caprice on R&D. So again,
Oh, here we go.
oh,
On flatline.
is the flatline gonna happen, or is he gonna res the ice?
You res the ice to if it's going to drain Laurie's credits to a point where he can definitely land the batty. Surely you res the ice.
Yeah, you're just gonna play the batty side game first.
Yeah.
0-1-2. What's the bid, guys?
1.
0.
Okay,
And
I'll
if
take
Chris
2.
was
I
here, I
guess.
think
I'll
he'd bet
take
3.
Yeah, don't be a Chris. Don't bid 3. That doesn't sound very good. Come on. It's a 2. You know it's a 2. Yes, pray to your Jacksons right now. Pray to him before he rotates. What's it gonna be? Fingers crossed. Zing!
Oh!
Ladies and
And Dan
gentlemen,
is the champion.
we have a UK Stimhack League champion.
Yes.
Dan has flatlined Laurie in style to become our third Stimhack League champion. Very well deserved, and commiserations to Laurie. We'll see if we can get an interview up with our champion. So stay tuned. Okay, we are live. Okay, hi everyone, we are back. There's no interview, unfortunately. Everyone is drunk because we are in the UK. Surprise, it's a Friday night. But what we do have for you is a bit of a quick post-mortem. These are Dan's winning decks. Congratulations once again to Dan Strong for winning UK Stimhack League 3. So we were talking about this Polana deck. And we were looking at the Z 2.0. Very, very interesting include. 3 influence. And we didn't get to see it in action. Such a pity.
It seems a good include to deal with the Siffers and Batty. Seems really strong.
Yeah, Batty in conjunction with Z. You have the Trash 1 hardware subroutine there. Could do a lot of work. It could just stop Paracipher combo dead cold. Surprised he didn't actually use that more to his advantage, but it still worked out in the end. The threat of Batty just holds Laurie right there. Any other things to mention?
Well, I was going to say it's an interesting kind of indication of the power of Rumour Mill to push this kind of deck out of contention, because as Dan demonstrated, it's still really strong. Like, Batty is a very powerful effect, being able to fire subroutines which traditionally never fire, and there's a huge kind of list of powerful subroutines that you might want to fire on demand. But it's just the power and just the threat of Rumour Mill which is keeping decks like this out of tournaments. I mean, I haven't seen a single Polana at a store champ that I've been to recently, and it's merely the fact it folds so hard to that one card.
Yeah, I mean, the whole deck is hinges on Batty actually firing and Caprice actually ending the run. I can definitely see it, the single Rumour Mill just completely crushing this deck.
Well, one thing about the deck list, when they were sent to me to post up here, these were the deck names that were submitted. I did not Polana, and I can't even pronounce the wizard one that Dan sent me. That's just a bizarre, I believe it's a Lord of the Rings reference. That
it looks Welsh.
Although they're better than Echo's deck names. They were named after cards that weren't even in the deck. High Stakes Job was his runner, and Net Police was his core.
Very good.
Oh,
I mean, I think it is a problem that UK players have, that we just have trouble naming decks.
I think everyone has needs to develop something that they use as a deck naming convention. I name all of mine after movie titles because I don't know. I just adopted it ages ago and started using it. It's really useful.
Well, I mean, I take the well-known archetypes and then try and put my own spin. Like, you've got the Dumbleforks. My ID looks a bit different, so it's Dumbleswift. I mean,
how many of your deck lists have the word Swift in the title?
I'd say about 80%, and the other 20 is songs that she has written.
Knew it. Yeah, I thought you would go with the Aldershot convention of naming things Dumbleswift version 1, version 2, version 3.
I do have Dumbleswift version 1, 2, and 3 on Jinteki, where it has evolved. It might just be a Dave thing. I don't know if it's an Aldershot related thing.
So boring. So boring.
I mean, the Wizard one looks kind of interesting. The Net Ready was definitely the right call with the Lotus Fields.
Yeah, it's quite high variance because if it's stuck at the bottom of the deck, the Lotus Fields can still get the better of you. But it also has Black Orchestra, so a very well balanced list, I must say.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I did the comparison between the 3 Wizard decks, it was interesting to see the differences in their Breaker Suite. Like, none of the 3 Wizard decks had a Faustin, which I thought was a real surprise. A lot of them were running duplicate copies of at least one of their breakers. Like, Laurie was running 2 orchestras and 2 paperclips, and in fact, every wizard was running 2 paperclips. So I think, I think the fear of Inject or Peddler dropping your singleton paperclip into the bin into the face of an arc lockdown is something that a lot of people have experienced and are kind of teching against it.
Well, I suppose that's why he's got the 1 Earthwise for the draw then.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it just goes to show how much mileage you can get out of the current power creep in the meta, where you can just jam all the best cards that have been printed into a single deck. And it works pretty well against most of the meta. Your Temujin, your Aaron, your Siffer. We saw how Aaron did a lot of good work against CTM in Echo's game. That was game 1. We saw how Temujin just again allows you to blast past your opponent with such a good economy lead, and and the lack of it rather was what caused Laurie to lose, not being able to repeatedly hit remotes because he had no money, and yeah, Siffer, need I say more?
Yeah.
Destroying ice left, right, center. So
And
yeah.
I was just in the same way that Rumour Mill is keeping decks like Dan's Polana out of the way, like Aaron Marin is so powerful at just a turn one Aaron Marin versus a CTM just shuts their win condition down so hard that it's forced another Corp archetype kind of onto the sidelines.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it has shut down my favourite combo of Sea Source Double Scorch. It's quite upsetting.
Yeah.
I've lost that as well with Yaron. But at least we'll be able to play with some full art cards with this deck soon when
Yes,
Christmas ones get
absolutely.
released.
Oh yeah. Yep.
It'll be nice to get a second step of Temujin and all of these cards.
Yep.
And
So,
a full art Sansan so that I have actually got a third Sansan.
and who? I mean, who?
Full art Progenitor.
Yep. And everyone can't wait for the full art Cobra. One of Snack, the best card in the deck.
Full art Snack.
Yep. So for those of you who are not who don't really know what we're referring to, that's the World Champion decks going to be printed in full bleed art that will be out in June. I think that's the estimated delivery date. So still a while to go, but hopefully by then the cards will still be legal for play. Maybe.
I have just seen in the YouTube chat that this is apparently named after the Blue Wizard in Lord of the Rings or something like
Yeah,
that.
apparently that's the case.
Okay.
Yeah. Not gonna try to pronounce it. No.
No. I just copied it straight from the decklist he emailed me.
Yep. So, any closing thoughts on the games today? Dave, want to start with you?
I'm glad there was a flat line in it.
Yeah,
But,
and
there was a bit too much
it wasn't like a real gun flatline, was it?
Wizard.
Yeah. Rich?
I thought all the games that we saw were really interesting. I think we have a worthy champion, and I think it was it's really fun. I really enjoyed this this entire tournament. I think it's a great way to get the UK community kind of involved, even if we don't get to all play against each other in person all the time.
Yeah, that's something very good to bring up. It's these kind of community events that I really love. Everyone just gets together and has a good time. Yeah, you can see that players weren't like try-harding. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, they still played to the best of their ability. Drunkenness notwithstanding, Laurie. But yeah, the decks were pretty good. I mean, they're not like strictly tier 1. Right now, tier 1, you probably play some sort of power shutdown combo if you really wanted to win as Corp. But yeah, they brought some very interesting decks to the table. It's good spice in all the decks, and we had some very good games. Even though 3 of the 4 runners were Wizard, we ended up seeing basically Wizard games every single time. But we saw how interesting the matchups could be at some times, and how the playstyles of each player directly contributed to their win or loss. So yeah, those were very good games, and yes, once more, congratulations to Strong Goose for
Yep, top burb in the UK.
Yeah,
Burr.
and thanks
Beat the
to
chicken.
Russ and Catherine for organising and running the whole thing.
And Swifty as well. You were the main organizer of this this one.
Yeah, Catherine wanted a break, so I offered to help out.
Yep.
You
so-
did a fine job, Dave.
Yes, thank
I'm-
you very much.
Yeah.
And yep, that's all from me. That's all from Dave and Rich as well.
Good night.
And as usual, happy net running. I'll see you all around. Goodbye.